Going on, guys? It's been a hot minute. We had a little bit of a break there, and yeah, just busy with work and stuff like that. I think we're going to be a little rusty doing this. I know I'm going to be a little rusty. It's going to take a bit to get back into it, but I'm happy to be back here with my partner, Brittany. Yeah, we're going to be doing episode 5, Jaws, 1975, Steven Spielberg's masterpiece. Brittany England's favorite movie of all
Favorite.
time. McTaggart,
Favorite.
I'm sorry.
Favorite.
McTaggart, not
I'm
England.
so used to it. Do you know how many people actually refer to me as England? And like Jeff's like I love it. I'll always be Brittany England at heart, but obviously I am McTaggart now.
He rolls his eyes when people call you that. Oh, come on, that's
And
not her
the
last
best thing
name.
about it is it's all of his friends, like Mainville, Hamlin. Like, don't get me wrong, they're my friends too, but they're always the ones who address me as England. And he's like,
that's funny.
Were you not at the fucking wedding? Like,
yeah, no shit, eh? That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny. So that's all good. That's all good. But yes, this is my favorite movie.
Yeah, this is gonna be her episode. She's gonna be probably this is gonna be another long one. I can sense it. I already know it's gonna be a long one. We might beat our last episode, which was 3 hours long, and we tend to beat every episode by a little bit at a time. It's kind of pretty funny. But
we're 3 minutes ahead of schedule, so maybe that makes a difference. I'm sure it won't, but maybe. No, I've been good. Obviously, Halloween has passed, so we're unfortunately out of spooky season. But for us, I don't think it really ever ends.
No.
I turned 29, so that's depressing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Happy belated. I wished you a happy birthday when I was at camp, so that's good. Yes, you did.
That's actually when we were originally supposed to do Jaws, because we're trying to do something a little bit special for our birthdays. With this podcast, we might actually even veer off the horror genre when it comes to our birthdays, just to like discuss our favorite movie. And in this case, Jaws happens to be my all-time favorite, which falls under horror, which is controversial, which we'll get to later. For some people, calling Jaws a horror movie is controversial.
Yeah.
But so I've been good, getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah.
As you can see.
In the Christmas spirit.
I will do anything to hang up my tree early to put this on display. It's an unhealthy relationship that Jaws and I have, but it's a good one. So that's all that matters. It's a good unhealthy relationship.
I was going to say probably unhealthy, like me and the Lost Boys. I can't tell you how many times I've watched that movie. I was just commenting on, in my horror group there, someone posted, about the Lost Boys. They're like, how many times have you seen this movie? And I was, I've seen it over 500 times, and I'll continue watching it for the rest of my life. And I get in my own little world when I'm in it, and when I'm watching it, and I'm just like, nothing else matters but the Lost Boys. It's very weird. I
get it. It's comfort.
Yeah.
It's comforting.
It's comfort. It's comforting. It's a comfort movie of mine, as well as a lot of the movies we're going to be talking about. I have multiple comfort movies. But yeah, all right. I guess I'll share one of my memorabilia just quickly there.
And I haven't discussed this with Sean yet, but if for whatever reason something ever happens to him, he's gonna leave this in his will for me.
Yeah.
It's the orca.
Yeah.
It's a very important scene in Jaws that we will get to in about 2.5 hours from now, probably. But that is one badass decoration, I guess you could say.
Memorabilia, I guess. It'd be like not memorabilia, but it's like a model, right? It's
a model. There you go.
Yeah, it's a model, right? And it's
like action figure, but not really. But
like you said, it's one of the most important scenes in the movie too. One of the best scenes in the movie, most iconic, one of the most iconic scenes in the movie. So.
Yep.
But
definitely.
All right, I guess. So if you want to take this away, Brittany.
Where do you want me to start? All right. So this one's obviously going to be about Jaws. Story of, like, without it being a masterpiece of a story, a masterpiece of a movie, the way it's filmed, the score, everything, like the acting, even the character development, you're going to be hearing that a lot in this one. We always reference it in our other videos, but prominently this one has some character building. It's the nostalgia for me. I mean, we're cable TV kids, and for some reason, Jaws was like on almost every second week. Not complaining. I loved it. I watched it every single time. This is something that me and my dad would watch probably 10, 15 times a year because of cable TV.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I owned it on VHS. I still own it on DVD. I own it on Apple TV. It's like I have the book, of course. I bought a puzzle. Like it's just I love
It's
Jaws.
it's
It's
actually funny because on Marketplace,
oh,
eh,
and of course I'm wearing the shirt.
the
Like
shirt, yeah, I like that shirt. That's a nice shirt.
my dad bought it for me actually.
Oh, that's cool. There you go. How
Yeah,
fitting. How fitting.
how fitting. No, it's I grew up watching this with my dad and that's a very fond memory I have and I'll always carry.
Yeah,
Just
that's
hearing
cool.
him explain how the setting changed in 1975, even in Canada where like yeah, we have sharks but not around where we are. There was still that lingering fear of like what's in that water, what's lying beneath. It just changed the atmosphere for like going to the beach. And
Oh,
just hearing him
yeah.
talk about like the way it was, we'll get to that too, but it was the first major blockbuster.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it really had some heads turning. Obviously, it's nostalgic for him. I'm a very nostalgic person.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
The reason why
I'm
we're doing
also an
this
only
podcast.
child, so I grew up very close to my parents and just sharing this with my dad, Jaws. Like I said, he bought me this shirt. Jeff probably has like 5 different Jaws shirts just because me or my dad buy them for him whenever we see something in his size.
He
Like,
probably loves
um,
it, eh?
Jeff, I've been with him for 12 years. I've never seen him go swimming. I bought him swim shorts that have Jaws on it. Like that's where I'm at in my life with Jaws and I'm okay with it. It's not going to change. Um,
Every time I'm on Marketplace, because I'm always looking through stuff, because there's guys, that's where I got a lot of my collection from, Marketplace, people selling their action figures. Every time I see a Jaws thing, I kind of look, I click on it. I'm like, I should
yep.
get this for Brittany. I should get this for Brittany. But I'm like, is it weird buying, another girl a present? I don't know.
And like that's been my Facebook background for like the past few years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I love Jaws. I talk about you bringing movies to school all the time and making us watch it. You're damn right. I forced you to watch this at school.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a phenomenon. That's what I'm going to call it. Is Jaws was
Yeah.
definitely a phenomenon.
That's perfect
Um,
way to describe it for sure.
it's a really it's beautiful. It's a masterpiece.
Well,
So yeah,
like what you were saying about the water there, like
yep.
I don't know if you want
Don't
to
go
talk
into
about
the
it now,
water.
but like people going into the water after this movie, there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fear, like
Mm-hmm.
just what it did to the world, like to people, like with
Yep.
going to the beach and stuff. Like after this movie came out, even the way that the camera is under the water, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and it's like you said, what's lurking
It's
beneath.
lurking.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's
and
that
then
sense of there's something else there.
so many people were afraid to go swimming after this movie. Like
Yep.
like it was crazy how much fear it spread over people,
Mm-hmm.
not go wanting to go to the beach. And then it
Yeah.
spawned how many other shark movies later on after this one, over the like they're still making shark movies today, because of Jaws. Jaws was the first shark movie
Exactly.
ever made,
Mm-hmm.
and like
And I'm sure someone else would have eventually made a shark movie if Jaws hadn't been made. But with that being said, do any of the Jaws or any of the shark movies that happened after Jaws hold the same reputation that Jaws does?
exactly, no,
No.
not at all.
So they
Not at
did
all.
something, even different animal attack movies. Like I know this one, Jaws, triggered Orca. It triggered Grizzly, which I've never watched.
Grizzly, I don't think
It's
I've
about a
no.
grizzly bear.
Oh, how
Shocker.
come? Yeah. Oh, I couldn't have
um,
guessed.
but yeah, it definitely started something, and obviously it did nowadays. I don't want to like make it sound rudely, but like we're in the cancel culture part of the life right now,
Yeah.
and a lot of people give Jaws a bad reputation because it gave sharks a bad
Yeah,
reputation.
yeah, yeah.
But and it's not to again sound rude or anything, but like something has to play the villain, and I don't think they meant for it to be such a malicious way to make a shark look or have people want to go kill sharks like the way
Yeah.
that shark hunting did take place after this movie was released. I don't think they intended on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It just happened because people are crazy, you know.
Yeah.
People are definitely wild out there, and I don't think you could blame a movie for having that
No,
happen, you know
no,
what I mean?
it's I like I could, it's the same
Mhm,
thing with other movies that have animals in them, like
mhm. Cujo,
like
for example,
yeah,
you don't
Cujo.
hate Saint Bernards because,
Yeah,
look at
Anaconda,
Beethoven.
Yeah.
Like,
People are afraid of snakes because,
Anaconda, exactly. Snakes on a
Anaconda,
plane, like,
no, you can't blame a movie for,
mm-mm.
you know what I mean? It's like, I get how people take it, you know what I mean? But it's
Mhm.
like, I don't know, man. It's a
If
movie,
you if
you know?
that's what you took out of Jaws was,
Yeah.
like, the fact that they portrayed sharks in a negative way,
Yeah,
you didn't get the point. Like,
that's your
that's not what it was
problem. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that, no,
I know the
exactly.
author of the book, that's what he says is, like, he regrets everything because he painted sharks in that picture, but again, it's a perception thing. If that's what you're gonna take of it, then I
No,
think you
there's
missed the
not, yeah.
point.
Like, if you're gonna think of that way, if you're gonna think of
Mhm,
sharks that way because of this movie, well,
mhm,
like you said, Cujo. If you're gonna think of Saint
mhm,
Bernard's the way that way because of Cujo, well, it's
yep,
that's the way you look at the movie. That's your
yep.
perspective on it, and that's your problem, I guess. I mean, it's a
Actually, the
movie.
shirt I'm wearing under my Jaws shirt, it's a pit bull with headphones on it, and it says "Stop the bullshit," which is like a
Oh,
way of
cool.
saying like stop the breed hating, essentially.
How
Because again,
fitting. Yeah,
you
that's
know what I
cool.
mean?
Yeah,
It kind of goes hand. Yeah, the irony.
yeah, how fitting.
But then again, call me biased, but like Chucky ruined dolls for me, so like, you
Yeah.
know, I get it, but
I know a lot of
it's
people that, yeah, a lot of Chucky ruined dolls for a
fuck
lot of
that guy.
people, and I never I don't see the big hype. Like, when it first came out, I remember watching them when I was young.
Hmm.
When Chucky first came out, it was a blow up hit,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like Jaws, it
Yep,
was a blow up. Like the first
yep.
doll, I'm pretty sure it was the first doll movie ever.
I
And
wouldn't know, and I'm okay with that. I don't
yeah.
want to know. Like,
No, I'm not really big on doll movies. I don't
mm-mm.
find them there's nothing,
Mm.
okay, but like, it's a doll, man. Like, how can a
Mhm.
doll kill you? Like, come on, man, like,
Mhm.
it's plastic, you know what I mean? Like, does it really take that much,
Mhm.
5 movies before Chucky dies and he comes back anyways? Like, he keeps coming back. Like, it's a doll.
Mhm.
5 minutes, the doll. I get it's a possessed doll, but you can still kill a possessed. Put it in a, crusher or put it in a
Mhm.
grinder. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many. Put it in a garbage truck. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, there's so many
Yep.
ways you can kill a doll. Like, there's no any, you know what I mean? But, well, we're venturing off something
Even
else, so may
better,
as well.
don't bring dolls in your house like I practice, and you won't have that problem. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, to start on Jaws, so obviously, like I mentioned, it was the first blockbuster, major blockbuster. It was released in the summer of 1975, so we weren't even a theory yet, and it
Yeah.
still holds that value to this day in 2023. And it
Oh,
was
yeah.
released in 19, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It aged
so
well. It
it
aged
aged
very
very
well.
well.
Very well.
It's based off of the novel from Peter Bentley, which is actually Benchley, sorry, which is actually a very great novel. It veers off from the movie didn't replicate, but the movie's based on the book. So obviously, just like every other novel turned into a book, there's different aspects. Steven Spielberg added some, you know, changed it up a little bit. And it's okay. It's definitely okay. I'll mention the changes of the book at the end, just so at least you can kind of, you know what I mean, paint the picture of
Okay.
what the movie had versus the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's some minor changes that are like, okay, like I could mention this one. Originally, the mayor, the reason why he didn't want to close the beach was because there was mobsters after him. Um,
Okay.
so obviously that's not referenced in the movie at all. And again, it didn't need to be because it worked well with the storyline that Spielberg went with. Um, but yeah, it's based off the book. I definitely recommend reading it if anyone gets the chance. Obviously, as mentioned, it is directed by Steven Spielberg. He was very young when he made this movie. He had made a few movies before that, but I don't think he had too many big features, maybe a few of them before Jaws. Um, and then he created this. And
Okay. This
obviously,
was his
Steven
big.
Spielberg is a fantastic director. Everything that he has credits on, I can't say everything, but the majority of everything he has credits on, masterpieces. Jurassic
Oh,
Park for one of
yeah, everything.
them.
Jaws,
E.T.
E.T., Jurassic
Yeah,
Park. He did
Like
or no, was Cameron was
James
Titanic,
Cameron.
right? Yeah,
But
he was.
those are in the same tier for me.
Yeah, they're the top. They're probably the
Hmm.
top in
Top dogs,
Hollywood. Yeah,
definitely
and
masterpieces.
the one thing I love about both Steven Spielberg, I think more uses a lot like Jaws. There's no CGI. It's a
Hmm.
remote shark. It's a robotic shark.
If he can get
You
away
know,
without it, not
yeah,
necessary. He doesn't
Jurassic
need that.
Park,
Yep.
robot dinosaurs. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that's where you make a movie, man. Like
Hmm.
it's, you know what I mean? Like you.
Yep.
I just,
Yeah,
excuse
100%.
me, sorry.
100%. No,
Yeah,
he has talent. He's obviously very, very talented.
like
Um,
we discussed in the last, our previous podcast. Like I am not big on CGI. I don't like it.
mhm,
I think
mhm,
it, even now, because how ahead we are with technology, I still think
mhm.
CGI. I can tell when it's CGI as opposed
Yep.
to practical effects. And
Yep.
I don't think, like, it's like, a good actor that's in front of a green screen, that's not a good actor. A good actor is someone who does their own stunts. Like I said
Yep.
with Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder
Mhm.
does his own stunts. That's a real actor, not Tom Cruise that sits in front of a green screen and pretends he's running up a building. That's not acting, man. Anyone can do
100%.
that. That is not acting. Acting is someone that actually does their own stunts, But
Definitely.
anyways,
And
yeah.
I do think that like some of the CGI is appropriate in movies. I just don't think, since we're a horror podcast, I don't think it's appropriate in death scenes in horror movies. Like those should be practical so it's more realistic. If you're going
Yes,
to
no.
feature someone getting killed that way,
I
make
agree
sure
with you.
like,
Yeah, I
you know what
agree
it,
with you 100% on that. Most horror movies, actually, I'm pretty sure most of them are practical. Like you said, because CGI, someone dying, well, it's got to,
mhm,
you can't, you know what I mean? You can't
mhm.
use CGI. Most horror movies, I'm pretty sure most of it, because horror movies don't cost much money to make, most of them. A lot of horror movies aren't that much
Mhm.
money, right? It's not like
It's all spent on blood.
flying
It's all the
space
fake blood.
cars like Fast
Yep.
and the Furious, $1 billion because you got to make cars fly. Like, no, that's, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
horror movies probably cost the most, $1 million maybe budget, not even like,
Mhm.
500,000, 700,000. Like, they don't cost that much money to make.
And they don't like I'm no director or like crew or anything, but I don't think they need to be so glorified and expensive. I think obviously budgets are in place for a reason, but if people minimalized CGI and actually did more practical, which does cost money also, but
Yeah.
if you have that budget, why not take the practical approach? Again,
Yeah.
I'm not in that field. I work at a body shop, so like maybe I shouldn't be commenting on how films are made, but like I just think that when it comes to kills in movies, it should be realistic. And obviously, as we're about to discuss, Steven Spielberg did the best he could with what he had back in 1975, and it's one of the, I could be biased again, but one of the best movies out there as far
No,
as
it
I'm
is.
concerned.
It is.
And it's
Just,
always
yeah.
in the top 5 lists, right?
Yeah, it
And
is.
it's there for a
It's
reason.
it's there. Well, it's because the shark movies have been
Mm-hmm.
so overused and milked. What Jaws accomplished is the
What it accomplished,
biggest.
exactly.
Yeah, that's like you said,
Exactly.
we're 2023 or 2024 in a month, less than a month,
Exactly.
and this movie was
I'm going to
made in
sneeze probably. I
1975.
apologize in advance.
Sorry.
I'm going to sneeze probably, and I apologize in
Oh,
advance.
okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, good. Anyways, yeah, I'm rambling, so I'll let you continue
Yeah.
with Jaws.
Again, if I sneeze, if I stop and make a weird face halfway through, I'm probably going to sneeze, or it's not coming out, and everyone knows how awful it is when a sneeze doesn't come out. So yeah, directed by Steven Spielberg. It runs for just over 2 hours, which I never actually noticed it was that long. Not gonna lie, I have a good time even on my millionth time. It's not a long, drawn out movie for me. I know a lot of feedback from people is that it's very long and drawn out. I think they put it together so well and so beautifully that I don't notice how long it is.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's some of the movies I watch
Yeah.
too. Like Goodfellas is a 3-hour movie. Scarface is a 3-hour movie, and I don't.
Yep.
Holy crap, this movie's long. You know what? I blink and it's halfway done. Oh, I didn't even
Exactly.
notice. Oh my god. Okay, it's 12:30. But continue. So go ahead.
I'm always down for the ride. Yeah, so it does pretty much have three main characters, which would be Chief Martin Brody, which is portrayed by Roy Scheider, Matt Hooper, which is portrayed by Richard Dreyfuss, and then Quint, who's portrayed by Robert Shaw. Unfortunately, Quint, the actor who plays Quint, passed away not too long after Jaws was released, so he didn't
Oh,
get to see what it became,
what
which is
the
very
really? Eh?
unfortunate.
That's sad.
But
Yeah, that sucks.
right now on Broadway, they have a play which is called The Shark is Broken, which we're going to talk about later. Which I'm sure we all know why it's named that. Um, I think his name's Ian Shaw, and it would be Robert Shaw's son, who looks very, very, very uncanny. Like he has such an uncanny resemblance to his dad, and he
Okay,
plays Quint in it. So that's kind of
cool.
cool.
Yeah, that is cool. No, no shit. That's cool.
Absolutely. I love that. Other notable characters would be the Bruce the Shark, which a lot of people I act like it's like public knowledge that people should know this, but the nickname for the shark is Bruce. So as I mentioned, the play is called The Shark is Broken. Steven Spielberg spent a bunch of money on these mechanical sharks to put in the water just to, film the attack scenes. Um, I want to say like an hour and a half into the movie, and you still don't really get to see a good look at the shark yet. It's because the shark never worked. The
Oh,
first
oh,
day they went to go film it, actually, it sank to the bottom of the ocean. So
really?
boom, there goes one of the three sharks. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
Steven Spielberg actually nicknamed it Bruce, which is named after his lawyer. So it says at least based off my
Yeah,
research,
that's
but
cool.
I've been
That's
reading that
cool.
for a few years. Yeah. So if
Okay.
you go read like the public forums and stuff, or if you ever hear someone talking about Bruce the Shark, and it's not the Finding Nemo Bruce the Shark, he's named Bruce the Shark because of Jaws. That's
I
a little
was
hidden Easter
okay.
egg.
I was about to
Um,
ask that. That's actually
yeah.
very ironic. That makes
Yes.
sense. Okay,
Yes.
cool. I was gonna
And
ask that.
Disney and Pixar are notorious for like putting little Easter eggs in their movies. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
obviously, and with that being said, there's so many Easter eggs from Jaws in shark movies, not just shark movies, but other big movies, big TV shows.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a big Stranger Things lover, and it's there's so many things to talk about. I don't want to veer off too much here, but so Hooper is the main character in Jaws, but the main character in Stranger Things is Hopper. And he's a sheriff of a small town. He drives a Bronco that resembles Martin Brody's Bronco. There's actually that Jaws poster in one of the boys' rooms in Stranger Things. Um, the monster in Stranger Things is something that lurks, and one of the first deaths in Stranger Things, a girl gets dragged into a pool.
Okay.
So it's definitely a
Yeah,
homage
it's
to
yeah,
Jaws,
yeah, yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
Flash forward to the third season of Stranger Things. It's about a mayor who doesn't want to shut down this mall because it's so profitable. He doesn't want to ruin the town's reputation and what he's built. And it's literally
Yeah.
Jaws. Like,
Shut down the beaches.
oh God, Jeff doesn't
Yeah.
watch Stranger Things with me because I'm like, oh my God, that's totally a Jaws reference. And he's just sick of it at this point. So again, another notable character would be the mayor, which is Larry Vaughn. Ellen Brody would be Chief Martin Brody's wife. They have two kids, Sean and Mike. Deputy Hendricks, we could probably mention him right now. The Kittners would be pretty notable characters, as well as a girl named Chrissy Watkins. So basically, it takes place on a small little island called Amity. If I don't know if Amityville was a reference to Jaws.
I was gonna. I don't even.
I don't know.
I'd have to search that up if Amityville Horror was made before
Yeah.
Jaws.
I know that it's like the one that I watched with like Ryan Gosling or whatever. Obviously, that's a remake of one
Reynolds.
before.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds, yes.
Yeah, that no, but there's an original, an old one. I think it's actually from the 60s. I think it
so
is
too.
before Jaws.
I think so
So
too.
who knows if it's
Who
a
knows?
reference? Yeah,
Who knows?
it's
I'm not really that familiar because I watched it as I was a little girl.
yeah.
Versus watching this like almost every second day for the past 25 years. So yeah, actually, Amity Island it's obviously a fictional little island in Jaws, but it's actually called Martha's Vineyard in real life, and it's in Massachusetts. If I were to leave the country, that'd be the first place I'd go.
Okay.
Just to check it out, because I'm sure it's
Yeah.
very Jaws-y, like, you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
sure
Lots of shark things around, or the
exactly
license plate, or
right up my alley,
yeah,
right up my
yeah, yeah,
alley.
yeah. You'd probably walk
Um,
in there like, oh yeah, that's from oh, that's from
oh
Jaws.
my
That's
God,
from
I'd be
Jaws. Yeah,
like,
that
oh,
yeah,
this was the police shop. Like, this is where
yeah.
Martin
That's from
and
that
Ellen
part. Oh,
lived.
that's the yeah,
And Jeff
yeah.
would be like, we're going home. Enough. So speaking of Chrissy, it opens up on her. Basically, she's at a beach fire. It's dark outside. She ends up signaling to a guy, I guess, that they're gonna go to the beach. She starts undressing. She runs in the water. He's way too tanked to get in there with her. He ends up like stumbling all over the place. He ends up passing out at the beach. So she's just doing her thing in the water, splish splashing. And then we get the undershots, which is very notorious. We're
Yeah,
getting it this early on in the movie.
yeah,
Very dark. You're in the water. You just see legs kicking in the water. She has no clue what's under there, completely oblivious. It paints that feeling of like lurking, right?
yep, yep, yep.
So we see her having fun, whatever. She's minding her own business. I think she's calling the guy to go into the water with her at this point. And all of a sudden you see her like jerk very quickly into the water as if
Yep.
something's pulling on her.
Yep,
And
yep.
she kind of like hesitates a little bit, kind of looks around, and then it really starts jerking her. Like she's getting tossed back and forth, up and down, like every way possible. I want to say he pulls her over to a buoy. She's kind of hanging onto it. She's screaming bloody murder, like gut wrenching screaming. Her
Yeah,
acting
yeah,
phenomenal. She definitely played the I'm in distress part very well. Very, very. You can tell. You could recognize
Oh
that
yeah,
she's obviously experiencing something.
yeah, yeah,
So then she's still screaming. She's screaming. It's still jerking her around very aggressively. So then it pulls her under, everything goes calm, and you just kind of see the buoy just bouncing up and down on the water. Basically anything that she left there is disappeared in that moment. There's
yeah,
no indication that anyone was ever there.
yeah, yeah,
Except for the guy that's passed out on the beach.
yeah.
Um,
Now,
you know?
for
Yeah.
that, oh, I just wanted to talk about
Mhm.
the opening scene, just that
The
first
opening scene.
10 minutes, like you said, and with the camera there, like what Steven
Yep.
Spielberg did with the camera under the water like that, and then like you said, like the girl screaming and stuff like that, like that's an
You can
opening.
hear her like choking on the water. She's
That's an
gurgling. Like
opening. That's an opening to a movie. Like that's you know what I mean.
I want to say
Okay,
we
you're
just
like
faintly see blood mixing into the
yeah,
water because it's very dark, but like we see that different pigment go in there, so we all know
yeah.
it's blood.
It's no that opening.
Again, before we even get into it, Jaws isn't really bloody.
No, it's not actually. I
There
noticed
is
that.
some
Yeah,
blood, but
not
that's probably
very
why I love it.
minor. Yeah, very
Very,
very
very minor
minor blood. Yeah, that's why.
It's
Like
still there.
yeah. So like you, when you were saying, a lot of people don't consider it a horror. Now for
A lot of people don't
me,
consider it a horror.
yeah, like I still consider it a horror, but it's like a like because horror movies a lot like there's thrillers and then there's horror movies.
Mhm.
Now I find horror movies are supposed to contain blood.
Yes.
That's my opinion. That's my what I mean. I
Yeah.
think horror movies are supposed to contain blood. That's why they're horror movies.
Yep.
They're supposed to contain a lot of blood. But
Mhm.
Jaws is just a mild horror movie. You know what I mean? Like back,
Mhm.
there's a lot of movies back in the day. I think we were discussing it. Like
It
look at-
wasn't made to gross you
No,
out and give you that
like-
sense of uncomfortability like some horror movies do. Like that
Like,
wasn't where
yeah.
they're going with.
Halloween 78. There's no blood. There's no blood in that. I think there's one. You know what I mean? Like we were
Yep.
talking about it last time. Like 3
Yep.
years after Jaws came out, paved just like Jaws paved the way of
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
An iconic. Even today, Halloween 1978 for what it started, what it created. It's still one of the greatest. The top five in the world for horror movies is probably
Absolutely.
Jaws, Halloween 78,
Mhm.
The Exorcist, The Shining, and the original Pet Cemetery. Guaranteed those 5 are probably in the top 5 of all time, no matter
Yep.
what list you look at.
Yeah,
unless
and
you're
Psycho. I would throw Psycho up there too because that one started so many. I'm not going to sit here and say Psycho was the first, but I know Psycho was one of the first. Like, I don't want to say publicized because all of them were publicized, but it was in the time where like people were getting their own TVs at home. You didn't have to
yeah,
go
yeah,
to the theater or go out to watch these things. So like people were getting more exposed to it.
yeah.
So like
No, no, yeah,
Psycho
for
really
sure.
set the picture where
Yeah.
like I think we talked about it in Scream, like Drew Barrymore, they kill off their main actress halfway through the movie, and it's like, what the hell?
Well,
Like
yeah, no, well, not halfway. Like, yeah, I know what you
it's
meant to say the
you know what
beginning.
I
Yeah, yeah, it's
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Too
and
early on
she's
in the
yeah.
movie and you're like we still have like 45 minutes to go. Why are we killing off this main player?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
Um
like even, she's on the cover of it. Matthew Lillard
yes.
isn't. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like Drew Barrymore's on the cover of it, but she dies in the opening scene. Like,
Halfway exactly. Not halfway through. But
yeah,
no, exactly.
I knew you
100%.
were gonna catch yourself saying that.
God.
I'm like, halfway. I'll wait. She's gonna catch herself
I'm
saying
going to say
that.
it again, obviously. Um
Okay.
But the other thing too that I could say about like Halloween and Jaws, and it's not to put down any other horror movies, but I think a lot of people, and it's not to say that they don't tell a good story or they don't write a good story, but I think a lot of people lack in the storytelling department and they compensate with the blood and the good kills and like the visual
Yeah.
aspects of it rather than like the long drawn out part of it, like to wait to see the story come to an
Yep.
end, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, the other thing I could say about Jaws is there's not too many characters that get attacked by Jaws, the shark, Bruce, where you're like, oh, I can't wait for this person to die, or like someone falls in the water and you're like, yeah, like
Yeah, no,
it's
they're all
they
very
don't have that
likable. Yeah,
character.
they're all very
You know what I
likable
mean?
characters. Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
Exactly.
There's
I
not
think
one.
of the
Yeah,
Meg and I think of Rainn Wilson's character where he's the billionaire and he's a very cocky, like a I will he plays a very good character. I love Rainn Wilson. And he ends up getting eaten by the shark at the end and you're like, come on, like
yeah,
let's
yeah.
do
You're all
this.
happy he died. Yeah,
There's
it's like,
no
yeah,
one in Jaws that I wanted to see eaten, like, you
yeah.
know.
No, they're all very
Um
likable characters. You
Yes,
know what I mean?
or you
And
feel bad for them. You don't know
yeah,
enough about some of them to be
yeah,
like, oh yeah, like,
yeah,
or
yeah,
you know enough about them to be like, oh my god, they don't deserve this.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. For
um,
sure, for sure.
we're not going to say the same thing about the sequels. Anyways,
No
so
way.
I love Jaws too. We'll just talk. We'll clear the air right now. I'm sure later on down the line we will talk about Jaws 2. Jaws 3 and 4. No,
They don't
no, no,
exist in
no.
my world. The second one doesn't even. I don't think I've never watched the second one just because,
I love
like,
the second one.
I,
It's
I,
more
I'm,
teenage gauged. Like it's more
yeah,
gauged to the younger audiences. It's about a bunch of kids, actually Martin Brody's kids, that go on a sailboat when they know that like a shark has been around before. Shark comes back, you know, la di da. It's very obvious what's gonna happen. Like it's a very predictable movie. You
yeah, yeah,
know
yeah, yeah.
exactly. It ends with that like one liner. Like, but again, it's a solid sequel. I've
It
seen a
is, yeah,
lot of
okay.
movies
I'm gonna watch it.
where I
Because
recommend
you
it.
said that, I'll watch it for you. Yeah,
I
and I'll,
recommend it.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Jaws 3 we'll talk about yeah, it's Jaws 3D, sorry. We'll talk about that. It's
Ugh,
about
when they make
Sea
movies
World.
3D, fuck.
Exactly. They try to bring a great white shark into Sea World. Obviously, everyone I don't even need to go on with this. It doesn't work out. Um just watch Deep Blue Sea. It kind of does a similar story a little bit better, and you get Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
And then Jaws 4, um, the shark ends up killing Sean Brody, Martin's youngest kid,
Okay.
and the wife ends up moving to Bahamas. Martin had previously died of a heart attack before this, so like she's a widow, and then the shark follows her to get revenge.
Oh, yeah. It sounds very.
Enough said.
Yeah.
Enough said. I'll keep going. So when
Okay.
the blonde girl, Chrissy, is getting attacked in the first movie, the opener, we're still in the opener. The rumor has it that she ended up like breaking a couple ribs. She was very hurt. So the pain that she was displaying on camera was genuine. She's definitely stated that's not true. She debunked any of those rumors. That was just her acting. It was just great acting. So I've been talking about him for probably 34 minutes now. We finally meet Martin Brody. I love him. I really enjoy him. I know a lot of people think he's a very bland character.
Which
I
one's
like the
Martin Brody
blandness.
again?
So he's the
Sorry.
chief.
Okay.
He's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
chief.
Okay.
So we meet him and his wife. They're waking up in the morning. We get to see that they live in like a small little rural part of the town. They have a nice little house. They have boys. Um, he ends up getting a call from work. As I mentioned, he's the chief. He had to go in and look into a disappearance, or what he thought at first was a disappearance. That ended up finding Deputy Hendricks on the beach, who actually found Chrissy's washed up body. Mangled, might I add. It was completely mangled.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah.
They're very uncomfortable looking at it. You don't directly get to see her body. I'm pretty sure they show you like a little chunk of like her torso with crabs crawling around, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But you don't see much. And again, they don't show much gore.
Yeah.
So obviously they're a little bit startled. I think Brody knew right away what it was, and obviously he did, because the next thing you see is they cut the screen. It goes over to him at the police station, and he's typing in "shark attack" on Chrissy's death report. This scene is actually replicated in Stranger Things in the first season. Chief Hopper ends up like typing in his little typewriter, and it like goes right up to like the cause of death, just like they did in Shark Attack. I'm a sucker for Easter eggs. What can I say? So basically, he plans on closing the beach because he has it set in his mind like this is a shark attack. Obviously, the community is at risk here.
Yeah.
So he ends up venturing off to the hardware store to pick up supplies to make beach closing signs. And he just so happens to run into the mayor. And the mayor finds out what he's up to. I'm pretty sure he asks the deputy. And once he finds out that Martin's ready to close the beach, you could see on his face, like, I'm ready to shut this shit down. It ain't happening. So he ends up following Brody onto, like, I don't know what to call it, but when you live on islands, like, there's that little platform that gets you from one side to the other. You could drive your vehicle on or whatever.
Yeah, it's like
a bridge. We'll call it like a movable bridge.
Oh, that's yeah. There's
you know what I'm saying?
It's what's the name? It starts with a B, I think. What's the name? Anyways, it's
he's
like
on one of those.
Yeah, it's like it's a platform that moves on the water. It's
exactly, which is basically another way of saying like he's cornered. He obviously can't get off the platform. The mayor's there. The mayor's definitely trying to intimidate Brody by reminding him that he's not from here. Brody had just moved here from New York. So he's not used to this small town mentality. Like, you don't know how things go around here. Just because you're the sheriff doesn't mean that you know what you're doing or you're doing things properly, right?
Yep.
So basically he mentions like shutting the beach down is an absolute no, especially with it being the 4th of July. It's a huge profit. A lot of the town people, I guess, make a lot of money because of the tourism that the town gets with the 4th of July, because they have the beaches. It's almost like Manitoulin Island, for example, like summers and stuff, right?
Yeah.
We all go there.
Everyone
like
goes
it's not
there, yeah.
And
spring break and
exactly. And the people who live there, like, you know, if you're a vendor or something, you have a store, obviously you're getting a little bit more tourists and stuff like that. So basically, the mayor tries to insinuate that it's a boat propeller accident when it comes to Chrissy Watkins. He basically tells Brody that there's no proof of a shark. And he says this quote, "You yell barracudas and everyone says what? You yell shark and now you got a panic on your hands at the 4th of July."
Yeah. Yep.
You could see Brody gets where he's coming from, but at the same time he's still hesitant.
Yeah.
So we're at the beach. We finally get a beach scene in the daytime. We see a mother and a young boy. The boy's name's Alex Kittner. Don't really know what the mom's name is, so we'll just call her Mom Kittner. We see a guy throwing a stick with his black lab. The black lab's name is Pivot. They're playing fetch. Alex is in the water on a floating device, and Brody is patrolling the beach to stay on top of his suspicion. I wrote that he has very high blood pressure in this moment. His wife is kind of annoyed with the fact that like Martin's not comfortable with the kids going in the water to play.
Yeah.
And she tells him to let the kids go in. The locals conversate and laugh at Brody because he has a fear of water. what are you doing moving to an island if you don't like water?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
kind of teasing him a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I get a kick out of the guy with like, "You got that's some bad hat, Harry." Like that
Yeah,
little
yeah.
quote.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I love that.
Corny little
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So the kids are splashing, like they're having the time of their lives. The beach is packed. Um, the guy who was playing with his dog is now calling out for him. Can't see the dog anywhere. He's just yelling "Pip-it," and then you just see the little
Log
piece
that
of
he was
wood that
playing
he was
with
playing with
floating.
drifting.
Yeah.
And like, if you're gonna kill a dog, Steven
Off
Spielberg,
screen, yeah,
bless
exactly.
you.
Yes,
Thank you so
off
much.
screen, yes.
Again, I'm pretty sure this made me cry when I was a kid. I'm not
Uh,
going to deny it. I definitely did. But again, I'm just a dog lover, so I just don't like seeing that kind of shit in movies. I know it
movies, yeah.
happened. Yeah, you know
No,
what I mean? I
I'm
know it's
not. Yeah, I'm not one for that either. I don't really like it. I mean,
not to say I want to see like kids or any other adults or anyone get hurt, but it's just the dogs.
yeah,
Like,
for some
I'm a
reason
dog
you're more
mom.
upset when an animal dies than when a human
Oh
dies.
God,
It's
yeah.
kind
Oh
of
yeah.
funny, you know? Like,
Oh God, yeah.
oh,
I'll be the
okay,
first to
oh
admit
wow.
that.
Yeah, that kill was awesome, and then the dog gets killed, you're like, "Oh, my
Were you
heart's
in
broken."
our class when we watched Old Yeller?
No, 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 no. Yeah,
We're not gonna
I've
go
heard
there.
I've heard about that movie. I've heard about
Yeah, they made us
the
read the book, right? And like when you read it on book, like it's one thing. It's still upsetting. I'm pretty sure I was upset when we read the book. But then you watch it on movie and paints a different picture.
I don't
Paints a
think
different picture.
what class would it have been? As
It would
far
have
as I
been
know.
Miss Carmichael in probably grade 4, but I think we met in grade 5, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, no,
Okay.
no. I
You
wasn't
missed it by
here.
a year. Count yourself lucky because it was quite the scene. Um,
Okay.
So just like when we saw Chrissy right before she got attacked, we see the shark's point of view in the water. You see all these legs kicking, and again, the beach is packed. So like it's
Yeah.
open season for the shark right now.
Yeah. Food
Um,
feast.
as we're looking at all these legs that could be the next feast that the
Victim.
shark
Yeah.
has, he's focused in on this yellow flotation device. And the last time we saw this yellow flotation device on screen, it was the little boy, Alex Kittner, who was just floating away, just kicking, having a blast in the water while his mom looked on the beach. I think his mom might have been reading a magazine or something, which is totally like
Yeah.
1975 mothers on a
Yep.
beach,
Yep.
right?
Oh yeah. I just want to touch on something before you.
Yep.
So you mentioned that he's focused on the yellow raft. Now I'm pretty sure. So I do know sharks.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see properly. I'm pretty sure when it comes to bright colors, that's why it
Mm-hmm.
was focused on the yellow thing. Because other than that, like a lot of the times they'll bite something to see if
Mm-hmm.
it's food. You know what I mean? If
Yep.
they see something, that's why they see people kicking, and then once they smell the blood, that's when it's game over.
Exactly. Like
But
I'm no
yeah,
marine biologist, but I've
yeah,
watched plenty Shark Weeks from like the past 15 years and it's they think you're like an animal. They almost think
yeah.
that you're like a sea lion and when they're
Yeah.
biting you, it's more of a curiosity thing.
Yeah, it's
Um
weird. They don't mean to bite you, but once you start
but they're
bleeding, then
blood
yeah,
driven exactly,
yeah,
right? Um so yeah, the music, we get the famous intro. So the
yes,
music starts at first, it's very, very brief, but then like it starts getting heavier and heavier, and it's just so ominous.
yep, yep,
Um, the music doesn't play if the shark isn't on screen
yep,
or if the shark isn't about to attack. So every
yep.
time you hear that ominous music,
Something's happening.
something's happening. And when it comes to foreshadowing with music, I'm pretty sure Jaws gets brought up multiple times when it comes to other movies. Like Jaws, I'm not going to say again that it started it, but 75, it wasn't too long before 75 that it was silent films, right? So
No,
films were
exactly. No,
still
yeah.
trying to find their place.
Jaws
Um,
probably was one of one of the first,
it was
like
definitely one of the first that packed a punch, that's for
yeah,
sure. Obviously, we talked about Psycho, and Psycho has their score. I'm not going to
yeah,
try
their
to
score,
make a
yeah.
fool of myself and, act like it, but they have that recognizable score. But when it comes
Yeah.
to Jaws, like, how many times, like, my dogs, for example, if I have a treat on the floor or something and they're about to, like, go get it, I'm like, doo doo. dude, like, you know what I mean? It's
Really?
so
Do you do that?
recognizable. Oh, I do it all the time.
All right.
When we had our Halloween party here, everyone's, jamming, bops are playing on the stereo, and then all of a sudden you hear doo doo. And I'm like, fuck sakes, the Jaws theme song's on my fucking
Yeah,
phone.
we were
Run
talking about
upstairs
that.
and go
Yeah,
change it. Like,
we
I'm
were
okay with it.
talking
I'm
about
proud of
that
it.
on last
I sit
episode.
here and act like I'm annoyed about it, but like I'm low key, like
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
sit here and listen to this all
This
day.
is all day. Yeah,
Um,
put it
but
on
it
repeat.
set the tone for foreshadowing with movies. You know exactly what's about to happen when you hear
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Exact. Yeah,
So we start hearing the intro. The shark moves in on Alex, and we shift from underwater to above.
yeah,
And you definitely see from afar, it's a zoomed out shot where the shark kind of jumps, he kind of rolls on top of the float.
yeah, yeah. I remember you see
And
like the back of his. I
you
think you see
and
the
you see
fin
him
kind of.
kind of flip over.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And the amount of blood that is thrown in this scene, this is the most amount of blood you're going to see in Jaws.
yeah,
um I actually remember the first time I watched this, and like I looked at my dad like I was not expecting that much blood, even though
yeah,
it's a shark attack movie. I don't know, it was just put me off a little bit, especially when it's a kid. You
yeah.
don't really see that too often.
In movies at all,
um
at all, you don't see kids.
And you don't
Like
see that much. Like, you don't see
no,
him getting like completely destroyed or demoed, or even, I think you might kind of get the notion of him being dragged, but you don't see anything. You
yeah,
just hear like the gurgling of water and stuff,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
like a little bit of the fight back.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but again, they do it in a very classy way, but it's definitely still like, it's the theme, the
yeah,
tone, it's,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So obviously people realize that he's getting attacked. People start panicking. They're running out of the
yeah,
water. Uh, you get this fantastic zoom in shot of Martin Brody where it just shows like tunnel vision, where like he's seeing Alex Kittner get attacked, and it just
yeah.
like literally zooms into him. That is a fantastic
Yeah,
shot.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. It is for
it
sure, for
literally
sure.
shows him, he was obviously on edge the whole time, and then it's just like utter terror. Like, so he gets up and he starts telling people like, get out of the water, get out of the water, people are getting trampled on, like it's a scene.
Yep,
Everyone's at the beach holding their loved ones that were in the water, and then you see
yep.
Alex Kittner's mom, who's Alex,
Looking for
like
him, yeah,
looking, it's pretty depressing. She acted it very well. And unfortunately the only closure that we're going to get about Alex is a little piece of his bloody raft getting washed up on shore.
yeah. I remember that.
So,
Yep.
so um it's
Iconic scene, but
it's an
like,
iconic
yeah,
scene.
but
It's
it's like,
sad. And
yeah.
again, you don't see the kid get attacked in a
No,
way
yeah,
where
you
it's,
just briefly see the shark,
you
and you
briefly
see,
see it.
yeah, the
You
water.
see a lot
Fuck,
of blood
yeah,
though.
yeah,
You see a
yep,
lot of blood. Um, so now we're at a hall full of worried townies. It's basically a discussion on how to handle the shark. It's gone to the media now, and the mayor wants to get rid of the problem before the 4th of July. Um, Brody wants the beaches to be closed, which he's wanted from the beginning. The rest of the town is basically opposing. Like, they're a bunch of like angry mobsters, like who just sharpened their pitchforks. Like, they are
yeah,
after him. Absolutely not. We're not closing the beaches.
yeah,
People are freaking out. And then we get to meet Quint. So you briefly meet Quint now, and then you get a lot of Quint later. He goes missing for a little bit, but he's definitely introduced as not a good character. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, he's the hero of the
yeah,
story.
yeah,
That's not how you're introduced to him. Nails on a chalkboard, getting dragged down. He had a little shark drawn on a chalkboard with like a little body in its
yeah,
mouth.
yeah. I
I'm pretty
remember
sure that's
that.
painting
Yeah,
the picture of like Alex Kittner.
yeah,
Like, he's here to fuck shit up. So he has an amazing introduction speech. I find him for this is shark will swallow you whole. I'll find him for 3, but I'll catch him and kill him for 10. He keeps going and intimidates everyone with his speech because it's so haunting. He just
yeah.
tells it, and you can tell this guy's seen some shit.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
$10,000 for me by myself. For that, you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Yep.
they kind of dismiss him, like, yeah, thanks for coming out today, but like, we ain't gonna go with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, they move on. Quint leaves, so it kind of makes it look like you're not gonna see him anymore. Um,
yeah.
so
Just like a
he
quick,
just walks out.
yeah, just like a quick. You have that introduction, that speech, this and that, and then okay, I
Exactly.
guess we're not going to see that guy for the rest of the movie
He just
until,
leaves.
yeah,
Like, so Brody starts to do research on a shark tax at his house, and he's reading like a book. It's basically all the pictures in the book. When you Google shark attack, those are the pictures.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So he's reading up about the attacks and behaviors just so he can kind of get a good sense of how like sharks behave to see exactly if he could stay on top of it. Um, they have a nice house that's overlooking the water, and I guess his kids are playing on like a little boat on the water, obviously, that's tied at the docks.
yeah,
And he starts telling his wife, like, I don't want these kids on the water. His wife thinks he's kind of overreacting. They kind of exchange a little bit of dialogue for a
yeah,
little bit, and she
yeah,
grabs the book he's reading, sees the shark attack picture, and starts hollering at those kids to get the hell out of the
yeah,
water.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of cute. I like it. Um, we see a scene. This is kind of a comical scene. Uh, two local men are trying to fish for the shark with their wives' holiday roast.
I like this. I like
Um,
this scene a lot. This is
it
one of
adds
my.
character to the
It's one of
movie.
my favorite scenes in the movie. Actually, I really like this scene.
And it really keeps you on the toes because even to this day, I've seen it a million times, and I'm like, that shark's gonna get him.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause yeah.
um, so obviously they don't take into consideration how strong the shark must be. Um, the shark takes the holiday roast as bait, rips the dog off from where it was mounted on shore.
Yeah. Just
So
rips all the wood. Just rips it in half. Yeah.
exactly. One of the guys go for a wild ride. The other one ends up staying relevantly close to shore. So obviously the guy on shore is like, let's go, let's go. The shark is here. And like again, you get the music.
Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head, you think I would, if we're in the shark's point of view at this point, or if we're watching the shark fin after the guy. I can't remember in this moment. Either
I
way,
think.
I don't know if you remember.
No, I don't. But I think I'm pretty sure. Most of Jaws always
The
Shark's
shark's point
point
of
of
view.
view. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think you really. I personally, I don't even think Jaws ever had that. That I think that Finn scene started after Jaws, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me. I don't think there's any scene in that movie where you just have the Finn flow. Like
So
it's
Jaws 2 happens like almost like a couple of years, and you get a lot of the fin. You
okay.
get a lot of the fin. I think there's a few parts with the fin. We're gonna get to one. One of them was a fake out. I
Oh
know there
yes,
is
yes.
a kill coming up where you get to see a nice side shot of the mechanical shark. Um, but this gentleman, anyways, the guy who
Yeah,
falls into the water,
yeah,
he's swimming for his dear life, and he does end up getting to shore in time, thank goodness, but not by much time. Like
yeah. Close,
he was
close.
treading that edge.
I remember the scene with
Mm-hmm.
the water's point of
Yep.
view, and like it's coming close to his feet. I remember.
And it's
Or
so
yeah.
suspenseful
Oh
with
yeah.
just
Oh
two
yeah.
people on a dock in the middle. You can't even really. I'm pretty sure you can't really see too much of what's happening because it's so dark.
Yeah.
But I think it's filmed that way for a reason, just to keep you on your toes, and it does. It does a very good job of
Yeah, it
doing
does a
that.
very good job. Steven Spielberg did a lot of things his way for certain reasons. You know, you think about it, you're like,
Exactly.
damn, this guy's good, man.
Exactly.
This guy's really good.
So we skip to daytime and we meet Matt Hooper, who is a marine biologist who Brody called in to obviously deal with this pending crisis.
Yeah.
Um, so he happens to come at not a good time. It is utter chaos right now. There's obviously a bounty out for the shark. Whoever can catch the shark will get a lump sum of money. So all the fishermen in town, and obviously there's a lot of fishermen in town because it's an island, they basically pack up all their boats, fill them with as many people, and might I add, dogs. There's like a bunch of dogs on these boats too,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're freaking throwing dynamite in the water. Like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
goddamn shit show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is when Hooper's arriving, and he's kind of like, "What is happening?" Um, he asked some locals he just gave boating safety to, obviously, as he's a marine biologist. He comes off as a little bit conceited, and obviously when it comes to small towns, we come from a small town. You can't just walk in and be like, this is not how you do things around here.
Yeah.
People don't really appreciate that.
No, exactly. No, yeah. This
So
is how we've
after
been.
he tells them you're not being safe, he asks them, is there a good restaurant nearby? And they tell him, yeah, walk straight ahead, which is basically telling him to walk straight off the dock into
Yeah,
the
into the
water.
water. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like this little scene. He turns around and walks away and says, haha, you're all gonna die. Kind of mutters it to himself as he
Yeah.
walks away.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that paints character. Like, he's goofy, you know?
Yeah.
Although he just came off as really conceited, you also see that he has a humorous side of him.
Goofy side to him. Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I love that little scene. So he ends up going into the little, I think it's a little fishing cabin. He goes up to Brody and asks, hey, where can I find Sheriff Brody? And Brody's like, who are you? He introduces himself. Brody's super pumped to see him there. So we see, that's actually, I said it too early, that's when we see the bounty fishermen set off with their exploding dynamite, almost crashing into each other as they set off to find the shark.
Yeah.
One prominent one that gets mentioned is Ben Gardner. You hear them drop his name, so hold that thought.
Okay.
So Brody shows Hooper Chrissy's body, and he confirms it's a shark. Like, it doesn't take him too long to confirm he's a shark. During the autopsy, the scene is filmed fantastic, where like Hooper's doing the autopsy, and like you could tell it's his job, but he's not having a good time with it. He asks like very startlingly, like, I need a glass of water. Like, you could tell like he's haunted by what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's not there to fuck around. He's there to do his job.
Yeah, exactly.
But it still bothers him.
Yeah.
So one of the fishermen ends up coming back. They caught the shark, and everyone starts getting super celebratory about it, even though like we're jumping the gun.
Yeah.
They're taking pictures. If they had a bottle of champagne, they'd be popping.
They probably would have opened it. Yeah.
Oh my god, Siri just got activated because I said champagne. Not too sure why. I don't know if that screwed anything up. I have a MacBook, eh?
No,
Okay.
yeah, no, you're good.
Okay.
It kind of
It
glitched
just
a
popped
bit.
up in the corner. I was like, excuse me?
Get the
like,
fuck
who
out of
invited
here,
you?
Siri. What the hell? No one invited you.
Exactly. So Brody's obviously posing for a pic. Alex Kittner's mom enters the scene. She slaps Brody in the face and says, you knew there was a problem. Why didn't you close the beaches? Completely kills the mood. Like, Hooper is also kind of there to be a party pooper. He's definitely second guessing if this is the actual hunter they're looking for. The bite radius isn't adding up. Like, it's to him, it's not logical.
Yeah.
He suggests performing an autopsy on the shark now. And he suggests that whatever the shark ate within the last little bit of time would obviously be in his belly.
Yeah.
Brody's like, can we not do this? But he obviously understands the purpose. We see a really like oh my god, Siri, stop.
No one invited you, man. Come on. Fuck.
Now he's responding to me. Okay, Siri's gone. I can't say his name or else he comes back.
Yeah,
that was a screw up on my point.
When you say it,
he who shall not be named is about to be off my screen in about a second.
It's cutting out the volume a little bit, so once that's gone there.
No, thanks, Siri. You can go.
I could probably edit this part out anyways.
I had to be polite and get him to leave, apparently. So
I don't know.
I can't say anything that resembles that name.
I was gonna say maybe I'll leave it because I think people get a kick out of it too.
Oh,
like if I leave it in the video, I think people get a kick out of it.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by. Okay, so
dot.
He who shall not be named will be turned off in the next video. So as I was about to say, we get the cutest scene in a movie as far as I'm concerned. You get Brody eating at the dinner table, and he goes like this, because obviously he's had a shitty day. And then you see his little kid go like this.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Brody kind of catches on that like he's copying him. So like he makes a funny face and the kid makes a funny face. So cute. I remember my dad really liking that scene. So I think that's probably why that
Oh, that's cool.
resonates
Yeah.
with me. But I
That's
remember him
cool.
mentioning like this has always been one of my favorite scenes.
Is Jaws obviously is one of your dad's favorites as well?
It's his
Yeah.
favorite. My dad is
Oh, it
also
is
a
his
very
favorite.
big,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
his favorite, yeah. He introduced me to The Birds. That was another one that we watched a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I just watched that one a couple months ago.
He's
Old, eh?
also
That one's an old one, eh? That's like
it's a
60s,
really
eh?
old one.
Yeah.
Kind of around the Psycho time, because obviously it's
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock. Um,
Yeah.
he was trying to get me into Star Wars for the longest time, and like, sorry to disappoint, Dad, but it ain't gonna happen. Like, I'm
I'm
not
not.
into sci-fi that much.
No,
Um,
I was into Star Wars when I was young, but
mhm.
you know what I
Not
mean?
to say it's a horrible
No.
movie. I respect what it's done. Like, I
Yeah,
understand the
George Lucas,
fandom.
yeah, what
I
Star Wars has
appreciate
accomplished,
it.
but yeah.
I'm just not into it.
No, it's
Um,
not. Yeah, I agree with
the
you.
only
It's not.
knowledge I know of Star Wars, I could thank Family Guy for. That's all.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. And it gets me by. It's gotten me through some Star Wars conversations. So,
All right.
I feel like Hooper kind of just invited himself to like Brody's house for dinner. He kind of just stumbles in with a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Martin dumps it in his cup. Like he's been through some times
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so as they're drinking wine at the dinner table, Hooper meets Brody's wife. You know, she's being very friendly to him. Book change alert in the book. Ellen cheats on Brody with Hooper.
I remember you telling me that when we
I
talked about
am
this
very,
before.
very
Yeah.
happy that this does not get portrayed in the movie. I don't think they needed that at all. Again, the book is one thing, the movie is another. If you look at the consensus of who likes what better, it's the movie.
A lot of
Because
people like the movie more than the book.
a lot of people like the movie more than the book, especially because of Ellen cheating on Martin with Hooper. It
Yeah,
would have
that's
ruined the dynamic between them, and they have a
yeah.
very good dynamic between the two.
I don't
Um,
I don't think I don't think like I've never read the book, but I don't think if they incorporated that in the movie, I don't think it
mhm,
would have been fitting because like you said
mm-mm.
the dynamic
It's the dynamic.
between both of them and you know what I mean
If
it
you're gonna
just
make her cheat with the mayor or something, so at least you hate
yeah
the
like
mayor even more, you know?
don't make them have such a great relationship because it's you know what I mean they're not
Exactly.
they're so
Or better
close
yet,
yeah
guys, don't cheat.
yeah
Be
or
good
just
people. Be good
yeah
spouses,
yeah
you
exactly or
know?
that yeah exactly be good spouses yep
So they decide to go do the autopsy, much to Brody's dismay. He's not having a good time. He's not looking forward to it. Um, as they're doing it, they pull out a license plate, and like you mentioned earlier, this license plate is in so many goddamn movies.
yep
Check it out. If for whatever reason you're watching a movie and like they focus on a license plate for like a long time or it lingers, chances are it's probably the Jaws one.
do the
And I'm not
yeah.
talking just like shark movies. I'm not talking just horror movies. Like it's everywhere.
It is
Comedies.
everywhere. It
Yep.
is everywhere. The same exact
I love
license
it.
plate with the same
Yep.
numbers and letters. So yeah,
Yep.
it's in every it's in all like you said
It's in a lot of movies.
yeah it
But
is.
again, if you talk to or if you listen to a lot of like behind, and I'm not expecting you guys to do this, I have no life. So if you listen to a lot of like behind the scenes, like movie credits, they're thanking Jaws, they're thanking Halloween, they're thanking like
Yeah.
we discussed like 4 movies so far where it comes back to Halloween because they're paying homage, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah,
in different
exactly.
ways that work, but they're still always going back to the original.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So they decide to set aboard Hooper's boat at night to see if they could find anything. They end up finding something in the form of a jump scare, and I remember my dad saying this scene was the jump scare of like his childhood. This is the one that got people. Hooper gets clad in all of his scuba gear, which he has a lot of, my dad. He is doing very well in the marine biology department for 1975. All of the bells and whistles on
Yeah.
that boat, good for you.
Yeah.
Good
yeah.
for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he goes to look at, they find Ben Gardner's boat, sorry. They find it's been capsized. So he goes underwater with his light. He ends up finding a hole in the boat, takes out this huge shark tooth. He's examining it. He goes to look further, and out pops Ben Gardner's head with an eyeball hanging out. So I'm pretty sure it has like a little scream associated with it too.
Yeah.
My dad said that scared the shit out of everyone he knew. That was the scare.
Well,
yeah,
you're
definitely.
not. I was gonna say, so like,
You're not expecting it.
no, well, movies nowadays compared to movies back then. Movies nowadays, when a lot of the jump scares are coming
Oh my
because
God,
the music
100%.
intensifies it, but
Mhm.
you know what I mean? That you didn't know, like you're like, oh, they're just, you know what I mean, going about whatever they're doing, and then all of a sudden, whoa, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's like the jump
Think
scare, like
about Scream 5. We both love Scream 5. When Wes is about to get killed, you see him close the fridge. You're expecting Ghostface to be there. It's not.
and he's
you
not.
see him walk the corner. You're expecting, and they just kept playing it off because we knew it was coming. But we knew it was coming.
Yeah. And
Still
then,
scares us when it happens, but
when we were talking
you
about,
didn't think
like,
it was coming.
Yeah, exactly. We
You
mentioned,
did not think
Halloween.
this one was coming. Exactly.
Halloween, where they're on the phone and there's no music. It's all just them talking on the phone, and the camera just goes like this, and then all of a sudden, if you look closely, you can see Michael in the window. Like, you're like, whoa, you know what I mean? That's perfect, man. That's awesome. I love no
and
music,
it's
nothing.
there, so you look for it. In this case, you didn't think it was there. You weren't looking for it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He pops out. Fun fact too, I know you haven't done The Walking Dead. One of the villains in The Walking Dead actually has like a tank full of zombies' heads. One of them is actually Ben Gardner's with like the eyeball hanging out.
Oh, are you serious?
Again,
that's hilarious. Yeah. There's a homage.
And that would have been
exactly.
probably in 2015, maybe even 2014.
See that?
It's still pretty modern,
like,
right?
45 years later, 30 years later, they're still paying homage to Jaws.
With that being said, Greg Nicotero is the makeup designer on Walking Dead, and I know that he pays homage a lot to like the old school horror community. Like, he knows the roots. He's always there to credit everyone, you know what I mean? So I'm sure he probably designed the head. It was probably his idea. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that, but I wouldn't put it past him, because I have watched some behind the scenes stuff about him, and he's on some pretty good movies, and he's been around for a while, so I wouldn't put it past him.
Okay.
But yeah, unfortunately, Ben Gardner, he didn't make it. While Hooper is getting scared the shit out of, he drops the shark tooth, so now he just lost any proof that he had that there was actually a shark. So they go plead with the mayor that this is not the right shark. They didn't find anything in the belly. They just found Ben Gardner's boat with a shark tooth in it. Ben Gardner's dead.
Yeah.
Where's the shark tooth? The mayor asks. I don't have it. Well, and that's pretty much the attitude that the mayor has.
Yeah.
So the mayor is actually dealing with vandalism relating to the shark attacks. There's a big poster sign with like, help me, there's a shark painted on it for like Amity Island.
Yeah.
He reiterates again, kind of brushes it off, that because Ben Gardner's boat was found, there's no proof that there was a shark ever associated with it, because Hooper dropped the tooth.
Yeah.
He refuses the beaches to remain closed again, but allows Hooper and Brody to take precautious measures. Those beaches will be open this weekend, he says.
Yeah.
So, we're now 4th of July. The beach is packed, but much to the mayor's dismay, no one's going in the water. Everyone's definitely on edge. They know what's happening. They're not stupid. He persuades an older couple and their kid to go in the water. And once they do, everyone follows behind. Brody's oldest kid, Michael, wants to go sailing, which Brody's not a fan of. And he's pretty persistent. He's a kid. So he tells him and his friends, if they insist, they can go to the Calmer Pond area and sail.
Yeah.
Just go over there, you're safer.
Yeah.
We start to see some underwater sharks of swimmers and legs again. Notice that there's no music playing.
Yep.
So a fin surfaces around all of the swimmers. One of them notices and starts screaming because they're panicking. Brody had a full police force actually monitoring the water nearby.
Yeah.
He's taking this shit seriously. He has people on standby.
Yep.
So the police force end up following the fin in the water. They approach it. As that's happening, it's utter chaos on the beach. People are being trampled. There's screaming. There's even helicopters in the air. But that
Chaos.
little team of cops that were surveilling the water, they end up finding out it's a little boy with a shark fin on his head,
Yeah.
trying to fuck with people. They pull him out of the water. You know. Again, I wanted to emphasize that there's no score playing, which
it's
if you were paying attention, you would know.
I was just
You know
about
what
to
I
say,
mean?
if you're paying attention, you'd know. Okay, there's no score. I don't even think it's
Exactly.
no, exactly.
Exactly.
But
It's
we're
little hidden things.
we're nerds like that where
We're
we
not
can
normal.
we can
We're not
tell the
normal.
difference of, it's
So now you see a fin gliding in the water towards the pond. It catches the eye of a girl on the beach who starts yelling shark to alert everyone. Unfortunately for Brody, it's approaching the pond where he just sent his kid to. His wife actually reminds him to this. Michael's in the pond, she says, and you get the score, so now you know it's real.
exactly.
Now, as it's building up, you get the score, and it adds
Yep.
that extra layer of
Yep.
like, okay, here we go.
Yep.
There's a gentleman in a small boat who checks to see if the kids are okay. We're in the 70s, right? So people were a lot more courteous back then.
Yeah. Everyone.
So he sees the boys. What are you guys up to? Are you guys good? I think they're learning how to tie knots, if I'm not mistaken, or something on the boat. The little boys.
Yeah.
So as the gentleman's inquiring what the boys are up to and if they're okay, something actually brushes up on his boat and tips it, sending him falling into the water. And also it sends the kids falling off their sailboat. So we see this. Actually, this is when we see the mechanical shark. We get a side shot of it kind of gliding underneath the water. Like you see the eye, you see the gills.
Yeah.
We see the shark attack the boater. And you see a leg just fall to the bottom of the ocean floor.
Yeah.
I remember being really young, and like that was a really like realistic scene to me.
Well, I was gonna say it. You know what I mean? Like,
not too much gore.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. Like, like you said, it's realist. Like,
and
it's
like
just,
you see it falling, and the blood's coming up, and you can see like little pieces of flesh.
Yeah,
like
it's such a it's such a quick and
it's
like
very quick.
Yeah, it's such a quick and like it didn't need to be there, but it was one of those scenes that was it was cool that it was there because it's one of like
exactly.
It's just the way, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's the way, like...
This kill is there to make Brody uncomfortable with the fact that this shark killed someone so close to his son, I think.
Yeah. Okay,
that's my interpretation of it.
Okay.
Like, that could have been my kid, but it ended up being this unfortunate gentleman. I think that's what that kill is there for. They didn't make it a guy where it's like he's trying to, like, get close to these kids for, like, malicious reasons or anything. I feel like he was genuinely inquiring, like, hey, you boys okay? Like,
you
didn't want to see him die. Again, it wasn't a character you wanted to see die.
No, it's someone who didn't deserve to die. No, like you said, there's no characters in this movie that are like that. He
could have been a bad person for all I know, but the way that I saw, he didn't really know much about him.
Exactly.
So you see his limb fall to the ground. Michael is obviously panicking, and the next shot that you get is Brody pulling his son in the water. Obviously, his son's in shock. I remember being a little bit confused in that moment. Like, did the shark attack him? Like, I'm kind of, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
But obviously, it ends up being the boys in shock. Again, that guy had to be killed so close to him to make Brody super uncomfortable with that fact.
Yeah, exactly.
The mom's crying. The little boy who was just building a sandcastle's bawling. I love that little boy. He's so cute. So we're now at the hospital. We confirm that Michael's okay. The mayor pops in, and you can see the mayor's kind of ashamed. His tail's between his legs.
He made it funny.
It's awkward. There's tension. The mayor is ashamed and embarrassed. He knows it's game over, and the chief was right. His son was almost killed. Brody basically forces the mayor to sign the paperwork to have Quint join the bounty.
Yeah.
Mayor signs.
Yeah.
They're smoking in the hospital. I just want to throw that out there. We're 2023.
Yeah.
If you're watching, that was okay back then, kids.
Yeah. It's so weird.
That's another thing with the nostalgia. Exactly. That's what I was about to say. I remember like watching this with my dad and like he's not wearing a seatbelt in it. And I'd look at my dad and my dad would be like, that wasn't the law back then. Yeah. He was drinking and driving at one point as a cop. I looked at my dad. My dad's like, that wasn't a thing back then. That's how it was back then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so
smoking in a hospital.
They're hacking darts in the hospital. I look at my dad. He's like, again, like
Jesus, smoking darts in the hospital. Like what?
Literally.
What is going on here? Yeah.
So we flash forward to Quint's place now, and they're proposing him to do the bounty. You can tell very quickly without any dialogue, no dialogue necessary. Quint's, I don't want to say shady, but like he's a little off, we'll say. He's definitely a strange dude.
Yeah.
He takes fishing very, very seriously, very like my husband.
Yeah. Very.
So I think Hooper propositions that they take his boat because like they have all the gear, like his boat's obviously dressed to the nines. And Quint says, no, it's going to be my boat or nothing. You want to go? We're taking my boat.
Yeah, yeah.
They establish all three of them will find the shark together on Quint's boat, which eventually, which everyone is obviously annoyed about, but they just, whatever, like, let's just go. Let's just do this.
It is what it is. Let's just get it going.
I'm pretty sure Hooper gets, it's either Hooper or Brody. Someone gets, like, homemade moonshine from Quint, and, like, it's obviously disgusting.
Yeah.
I want to say he's also like boiling like the fish jaw, like a shark jaw to like mount
on the wall
as they're like visiting him.
Yeah.
So as they're loading up everything to go on, I can't believe I haven't introduced it yet. The orca, which is, as we talked about previous podcasts, it's almost a different character. It's almost its own character.
Yeah. Yeah.
We spend the rest of the movie on this boat.
On this boat, on the orca,
a part of everything.
Yep.
So they're packing all their gear to go on the orca. Hooper brings shark cages, which Quint doesn't necessarily understand this theory of. You're going in that to catch that. Like, he starts singing a farewell song to Hooper. It's like, farewell, oh do my lady, or something. It's a Spanish song from what I've read up.
Yeah.
And he's chuckling about it. Like, he's kind of saying, like, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Which Hooper did earlier to the locals. So, like, Quint's kind of doing it in a different way. So he's mocking him, and they set sail. We see Brody having the time of his life, chumming. I'm pretty sure he has a smoke hanging out of a cigarette, 1975.
Yeah.
Quint, the obvious captain of the boat, of the orca. I need to stop calling it a boat and call it an orca. He's fishing, drinking beer, and bossing everyone around. He's the captain of the orca.
Yep.
When he's not telling someone how to live their life and teaching them how to be big game anglers, he's telling all of his fishing tales. Quint begins to feel something on his line, and he gears up and tries to set the hook. Brody, he was working on tying a knot, and he was having a little bit of a hard time.
Yeah.
So as soon as he ties the knot, he yells, "Hey!" as in, like, I got it.
Yeah.
And as soon as that, like, leaves his lips, the shark takes the bait, and it's game on.
Yeah.
Hooper and Quint are back and forth as they both know their way around the ocean in totally different ways. One's night, one's day.
Yeah.
They are complete opposites.
Yeah.
Brody, and they unfortunately, the shark ends up getting away because they just weren't, they weren't organized enough. They weren't synced. They weren't synchronized enough to like understand how each other's work together.
Yeah.
So they end up losing the shark, whatever. We get another shot of Brody, and this here was the second jump scare. There's a couple articles that they'll say that one jump scare was more prominent than the other. Okay. A lot of articles do say this jump scare was bigger than Ben Gardner's.
Okay.
I'm with Ben Gardner's. Ben Gardner's scared me more. Brody is chumming. We also get the famous line. So he has the smoke hanging out of his mouth. He's talking back to Quint when the shark surfaces. So he's chumming, and the shark just basically looks him in the soul.
Yeah.
He backs up, drops everything after it startles him, and he says, "You're going to need a bigger boat."
Yeah.
The shark is back. So basically, the shark starts swimming by the orca, and Quint determines that it's about a 25-footer, even though Hooper thought it was a 20-footer. They just can't agree. They'll never agree.
Yeah.
We get some fun adventure music. It's not your typical score where it's the it's literally adventure music, like Jurassic Park almost.
Yeah. Some of Steven Spielberg's famous fucking music.
And I actually apologize for not shouting out John Williams. He's actually the composer to the soundtrack here, and
okay,
what a gem. He's amazing. Yeah. He has so many good credits, and obviously Jaws would be my favorite. But
yeah.
A voice ends up coming on the CB radio, which is actually Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, he's calling to tell the chief that his wife is trying to get connected with him mid shark battle. Quint kind of dismisses her. He'll get back to you. He ends up going back to work. They shoot the shark with a yellow barrel to try to get him to surface. Hooper didn't listen to Quint's advice, which humors Quint and pisses Hooper off. So Brody has probably asked 4 times by now if they need a bigger boat. Literally, he just keeps repeating it. Do we need a bigger boat? Like, they keep talking about how big the shark is. Do we need a bigger boat? Like, and again, Hooper lost the shark, so Quint's just, just
I told you,
reveling in it.
Yeah.
And obviously, Hooper's like, shut the fuck up. Like, this is probably my favorite scene. It's probably the most boring scene in like a lot of movies. It's just dialogue back and forth. But to me, if you can carry a scene like this just based off dialogue, you're doing a fantastic job.
No, for sure.
So they're in a cabin and they finish dinner. They've been drinking and they start to compare scars. And they tell their life war stories. Obviously, in this situation, it's 1975. They've been alive through the wars. There's some stories to pass around. Quint starts telling a story about how he was on the USSR, which was attacked. I believe they were attacked by Japan. And this is actually a real story. Obviously, Quint's part might be fictionalized, but it's a story about a real story.
Okay.
So the USSR, it's actually a famous boat. It was actually carrying a missile to Japan. It successfully carried the missile to Japan.
Yeah.
But on the way back, it got attacked by Japanese soldiers, and the boat got destroyed. A lot of soldiers actually did perish when the boat went down. The people who survived were sitting ducks in the water, literally.
Really? Well,
I have a book about it, actually, and the story goes...
You would.
I would. The story goes is if you didn't pass away from, like, the seasickness or the dehydration of, like, consuming the ocean water, you were getting picked off by sharks.
Really?
So as Quint's story goes, the USSR was attacked, and those who fled the ship into the ocean were slowly picked off by a few different elements, but essentially by sharks. The mission had been so secret because, again, we're in the war. They weren't going to be like, we're delivering these bombs to Japan. It was very, very discreet. No distress signal had been sent. They didn't even give them a list. They didn't even list anyone as missing for up to a week after it happened. So Quint gives an amazing speech about how the ocean was turned red despite all the pounding and hollering. People were being ripped into pieces. By the first dawn, they lost 100 men to sharks. He ran into someone he knew, and when he went to go grab them to be like, hey, man, he was just bobbing. The rest of his body was gone. He ends the statement with, and remember this one, I would never put on a life jacket again. Obviously, to say that he would rather drown than be taken by a shark, just by what he's seen. So I wrote, keep in mind, Quint's biggest nightmare would be a shark attack.
Exactly.
Brody and Hooper are in awe by the story. I'm pretty sure Hooper has his jaw, like, and you could see like Brody's definitely feeling it.
Yeah.
Like, I wrote "So am I" 1,000,001 times after listening to it. Fun fact too, they're actually releasing a novel about Quint's time on the USSR. I am not too sure who wrote it. I'm not too sure when it's coming out. What I am sure of is I definitely pre-ordered it on Amazon.
Of course
So
you would. Yep.
keep you updated on that one. So they're obviously lit at this point, and they just kind of connected with their war stories and comparing scars. I think Brody showed his appendix scar. He got his appendix removed. Fun fact, he got his appendix removed in real life, the actor.
Oh, really, eh? Okay.
If
cool.
I'm not mistaken, Hooper's kind of looking around to see like what scar he could mention. I could be wrong, but I remember that. I didn't write it down, so it wasn't that important, but I think I remember that. So they start to sing a tune together, and all of the men are visibly enjoying their time together for the first time.
Yeah.
Nothing good ever lasts in these movies, so all of a sudden something slams into the boat. They know what it is. There's no second guesses about it. Like, so they jump into action when the lights turn out. Quint orders everyone on deck, and he starts to shoot at the shark, but it escapes again. So while this was happening, the boat did kind of get a little bit of damage. The next day, the men are repairing the boat when the shark returns. Hooper grabs one of the barrels with a hook and he secures it to the stern. Quint goes full throttle to try to drag the shark, but the shark is too strong and it drags the orca in the other direction, causing more damages to the boat.
Yeah.
Quint ends up cutting the rope to let the shark go.
Yeah.
So Brody attempts to call in a mayday while this is going on. Brody, again, he hates water. He does not want to be here. He's just here to make sure the shark dies, I'm pretty sure at this point. Yeah. So he's running to yell mayday. I wrote Brody attempts to call a mayday to Steven Spielberg. Yep. So obviously he's the voice on the other line.
Yeah.
But
sorry
Quint
for
comes
yawning
in with like,
so much. Jeez.
That's fine.
No,
Quint comes in with a bat or something and he smashes the radio to stop this from happening. He's literally, at this point, it's clear that Quint is driven by killing this shark. The engine starts to fail, and Quint offers the life jackets to the two other men, but doesn't take one for himself.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because, as mentioned, he doesn't want one.
Yeah, I never want to wear a life jacket again.
So Hooper decides to put his scuba gear on and equips himself with position to inject the shark with some poison. Quint advises him the needle is way too small to pierce the shark's skin, but Hooper goes down anyways.
Yeah.
The cage is absolutely no match for Hooper. He drops the syringe and flees out because the shark ends up gunning at him full tilt. This is actually real footage. I believe the footage came from somewhere in Australia that's used for making it look like the shark is attacking him in the cage.
Okay.
That's why it looks so legit.
Huh.
They didn't use CGI. They opted out to use natural footage.
A real scene. Yeah, real
I don't
footage.
know if you can do that nowadays with like PETA or whatever, PTA or whatever, the ones that protect the animals on screens.
Yeah. Things were so different back then. Probably not. Yeah, probably
People used to smoke in hospitals back then, so let's be real. So obviously it makes it look like Hooper, we may or may not see him again. Changes from the book time. Hooper dies in the book.
Okay.
Which, I mean, if he's screwing around with Brody's wife.
Yeah, well, you want him to die. You want him to die at that point. Yeah, exactly.
So Quint and Brody pull up the cage because obviously they see like it taking a lot of stress. There's something going on down there.
So what's what's the year difference between the book and the movie?
This is, I don't think it's by many years. I want to say this book is like 72.
Oh, really, eh?
1974. A year.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's... Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
so,
that's interesting.
when Quint and Brody pull up the cage and see how what shape it is, it's
Yeah.
obviously in really bad shape.
Yeah.
They think that Hooper's fallen victim. They basically, it's assumed that Hooper's dead.
Yeah.
But before they could even react or have any kind of talk about it, cue in Sean's little action figure. The shark jumps out of the water onto the orca, tipping it into the water. Brody and Quint grab onto the boat as everything falls into the direction of the shark because obviously he's heavy. Everything's falling this way.
Yeah, exactly. It's slanted.
It's slanted.
Yeah.
In this scene, you see this oxygen tank way too much for it not to be important later on.
I was going to say,
put that out there.
I was going to say, yeah.
So they're basically trying to like grab on to anything that they can to keep them structured
Stable.
while this is happening. Quint loses grip because this oxygen tank falls onto his hand, and although Brody tries to save him, Quint begins to fall towards the shark. He tries kicking upwards because the shark's coming at him like this.
Yeah.
And his worst nightmare comes true. He basically gets partially eaten. And on my 1,000,001 watch, I still haven't fully determined if he died before or if he was still alive when he gets dragged under.
Okay. All right.
But the way that it's happening when he's dying, you could tell this is his worst. I mean, everyone, I'm sure no one would be smiling if they got eaten by a shark there, but like you can tell
I hope not.
This is, and there's blood coming out of his mouth.
I think honestly, being eaten alive by an animal in general is probably one of the worst scenes or one of the worst things to go through ever in your life, being eaten by 100%. An animal. And while you're alive, of course, but even like a shark, because the teeth on a shark, right? They got, it's like a saw blade. Every tooth has a bunch of little teeth on it, right? So that's like,
exactly.
Oh my God, man. You know what I mean? That's got to be fucking crazy.
I thought that this little 30th anniversary book I have would have like that little scene of it getting no, it doesn't. It does not. The underwater sequence where Jaws attacks Hooper's cage includes live footage of a real great white shark with a rope hanging from its mouth. These scenes were filmed by shark photographers Ron Taylor and Valerie Taylor in Australia. Because the real sharks were smaller than the mechanical shark in the movie, a smaller version of the cage was constructed, and a small mannequin or a little person would be placed inside. Once one great shark got caught in the cage cables and tore it apart trying to escape. This footage was so good that the script was changed to reflect the destroyed cage and Hooper swimming away to hide on the ocean floor.
Cool.
There you go.
Yeah. That's cool.
So,
that's a cool fact, actually. Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. That's cool.
My little Jaws Bible. So obviously Quint's gone. He's a goner. There's no way you're surviving that, whether you were alive when you got dragged under or not.
I wouldn't want to be alive after that anyways.
Mm-mm.
No.
Oh my God. Like, Martin, use that gun to shoot him. Put him out of his misery. Like,
yeah, exactly.
No, don't do that, people. Don't do that. So now Brody is alone, and you could tell he's horrified. Like, he doesn't even have to talk about how scared he is, like, out loud or anything.
Yeah,
his acting portrays it so well.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell sometimes. Yeah, it's.
Oh yeah.
That goes back to what I was saying about good actors. Like, if it's like what you said earlier, like the boring scene where if you can carry a scene with just dialogue like that, and if you don't even have to say anything. If you don't have to say anything in a scene and you're just, you can tell just by looking at the person, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's acting, man. That's acting. That's
to compare one of our last videos, you see the connection between Billy Loomis and Stu Macher, and like you need that dialogue. So it's like evil versus eviler, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Whereas
exactly.
Jaws, you don't need like that kind of crazy dialogue.
No.
It's a different kind of dialogue where it's very toned down, but it's portrayed in such a haunting way of him telling his story about like the war.
Yeah,
and it's something everyone can relate to because this is something that actually happened. So
exactly.
it
I
has that
could, yeah,
underlying haunting tone, right?
I could agree with you 100%. Good. That was a good way to put it for sure.
So he's panicking. The shark crashes into the boat and is very, very close to Brody's face. I would not want a shark this close to
Nope.
me, let alone my face.
Yeah.
Brody fends it off by lodging an oxygen tank into the shark's mouth. The shark, he didn't like that. He retreats and he kind of goes back into the water. Like
Yeah.
he just kind of like disappears downwards.
Oh, you forgot. Well, you didn't say it, but that oxygen. You did say the oxygen tank, but that's the oxygen tank that we seen prior.
Honestly, though,
yeah, we
watch the scene and notice how many times you just awkwardly see like the oxygen tank just like in the background.
Yeah, I'm gonna
like
do
here.
that. Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
That. It's in there too many times. Yeah.
It's in there too many times. It was actually this year. I want to say when we first talked about doing this movie, of course I watched it. I looked at Jeff and I'm like, I never noticed how many times this oxygen tank actually like is like, you know what I mean?
That's why sometimes, like, well, you know, I watch my movie, you know, my favorite movies more because, you know, if you love that movie so much, almost every time you notice something different about it.
You notice something different, exactly.
You know, you notice something new every time. You're
Absolutely.
like, oh, what did I ever realize that? Like, there's some scenes in some movies that I don't even remember seeing. It's like a 5-minute scene. For some reason, sometimes I'm like, was that scene always there and I just never knew about it? You know what I mean? Like, that's why it's cool to do this podcast too, because then we talk about it and we're like, oh my God, you know what? I never even realized
noticed that. Exactly.
Like, when you brought up the Rabbit in Red Lounge, you know what I mean? Like,
and
I was like, oh my God.
Like in the moment you said it, and I was like, isn't that where
and I was like, no
Sherry
way.
Moon's character worked?
And I never even that was something I never realized until you told me that. And now I'm like, oh, that's okay, good job, Rob Zombie. Like that's cool, you know? Like I didn't even notice that, right?
And it's so small and so subtle, like me and you would be in a movie theater and we'd be like, oh my God, whereas like Roxy and Jeff would be like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know?
No way!
Exactly. It's no different than, we're going to get to that movie eventually, but like Final Destination 5, I still remember sitting in that movie theater and then they end it with like at the airplane and I was like, no. And then you see the kids in the aisle and I'm like, no. Like
I know, I did not expect that. And then I seen it and I was,
and then when you rewatch it and you're like, there's no cell phones. There's a massage certificate that has 2001. Like it's like, you know what I mean?
I know. I remember watching the end of that and I was like, oh my God, like what? You know, I was so blown away. Like,
how many times did they say Paris? We're going to go to Paris. And it was like, it makes sense now, but I just remember being in that moment and being like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly.
And again, the people I were with, like, I think someone hadn't even seen Final Destination 1 and like shame on them. Yeah. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why are you getting so pumped? And I'm like,
I might be not a piece of shit for saying this, but like, you know, I don't want people to get mad at me for saying this, but like, I find maybe I'm just saying this because of the way I am and the way you are with movies, but I find people watch movies that it's not that they don't deserve to watch movies, but they shouldn't be watching movies. You know what I mean?
They're not going to grasp the full appreciation of what people are putting into it. I get it. That's my husband. I'll fucking call him out right now, Jeff. Like,
some people were asking me how Saw X was, you know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, is it worth going to watch?
It's just another Saw movie, but like, no, it's much more than just that.
I'm like, well, 100%. Is it worth going to watch? Like, go watch it. You know what I mean? You're going to find out if it's worth going to, but if you're a big fan of it, you know, for me, I called a lot of little things from the previous. I looked at Rox. I'm like, I know that voice. I know who that is. You know what I mean? And I called some things that were from the previous movies that a lot of people probably didn't even know about. And you 100%. Know what I mean? They're like, oh, it was an okay movie. I'm like, did you even grasp? Like, you know what I mean?
You didn't realize this then. If you didn't think it was like, you know what I mean?
A lot of people said it was predictable. I will say it was predictable, but I think it was made to be predictable because you already know what's happening through the trailer. I think it was more of a revenge. It was more of a revenge thriller than the previous Saw movies where you're like, oh my God, who's this?
I find the feedback with Saw, it's either too predictable or it's too twisty. Well, what do you want?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of my one of my hidden favorite movies is like Spider-Man. I'm a sucker for Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man.
The original, right?
I'm an
Sam
amazing
Raimi?
Spider-Man girl.
What's that?
I like the one with Andrew Garfield is my favorite Spider-Man
Okay.
because I find that one follows the comics more.
Okay.
I think you're thinking of the one with Tobey Maguire. And I'm not too
That's
sure
why
who
I
did the
said
Amazing
Sam
Spider-Man.
Raimi, because
Okay.
Sam Raimi, who
Again,
also
I
directed
love that
Evil
one
Dead.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sam
And
Raimi,
then
yeah.
Tom Holland would be in like the newer one. Like I'll watch all of them, and I just love seeing the way that like different people tell the same story. Like I don't know how many times I've watched Uncle Ben die in different movies, but like you know what I mean? It's predictable, but I still love it.
Yeah.
And Jeff doesn't appreciate like the way that different directors. We're not going to see Spider-Man again. We're not going to see that stupid. You know what I mean? And again, I love him to death, but like he just doesn't have good taste in movies. He'll admit it. I'm not talking shit. I'm talking honesty.
I think for me, I think I have the best taste for movies when, you know what I mean? Like I'm just bad like that. Like I think my favorite movies are the best movies out there. And then when some people tell me their favorites, I'm like, that's not even, why is that a favorite movie? Like,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Why would you put that in your top 10? Like that's not top 10 worthy,
exactly.
but it's opinions. You know what I mean? And that's the joys of,
exactly.
You know, but I mean, hey, I think The Lost Boys is one of the greatest movies of all time, and there's no other vampire movie that's better. And people that think there's a better vampire movie, well, they're just smoking crack because there's nothing better than Lost Boys. But that's just
Twilight?
my opinion. You know, what's that?
Twilight?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what a.
But no, and like obviously everyone's allowed their own personal opinion and their own personal like loves and likes and stuff, but it's just I don't know if you're gonna have such a strong opinion about something, you better back it up.
Back it up, exactly. No,
to
exactly.
me.
Yeah, no.
You
for
can
sure.
sit here and tell me you don't like Jaws. That's fine, but like,
I want to know why. Exactly.
exactly.
Like,
what did he do to you?
Like, I got into an argument with someone on Facebook the other day in one of my horror groups, and he told me,
you.
"Oh yeah, not me. No, I never do that." You know, and that's all I do. I sit in my house, watch horror movies, and then just argue with people on Facebook about horror movies.
But some of these people that probably argue with you haven't even watched the movie.
No, well, that too. Like, anyways, at
least you could say that you do.
This guy was saying Saw X was horrible. And I asked him, I said, give me 3 reasons how it was horrible. He didn't even answer me. He could, you know, I was like, okay, well, you know what?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Don't tell me it's horrible if you can't name 3 reasons. Oh, because it was predictable. Well, like I said, I think it was meant to be predictable because it's more of a revenge. You know, it was nice to see John Kramer come back. That's
Absolutely.
the whole point of it. You know what I mean? And the end of the movie, you know, I know we're venturing off a bit, but you know what, whatever.
We're pretty much at the end anyway. Yeah. So
I knew something was gonna happen. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I knew something was gonna happen at the end because John Kramer's always 2 steps ahead of everyone or 5 steps ahead of everyone,
and that's how it's been since the original.
Yeah, you know, so you know it's gonna happen. You know how it is, right? Yep. So, like I said, like. It was predictable. You knew what was going to happen, but you knew what was going to happen by the trailer, but it wasn't really supposed to be a psychological thriller like the other ones. It was supposed to be more of a revenge, like, you know, like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and
John Kramer drove him to do it.
Yeah, John Kramer in this one is more of a, you know, he's the victim in this one as opposed to all the other ones. It's different the way they did it, but you know, some people didn't like it because it was predictable. But if they actually sat down and thought about it, maybe it was probably meant to be predictable. I think it was. That's my opinion.
And we're gonna do an episode on the movie that I'm about to mention later on because I know it's gonna be a debate between you and I.
Okay.
The 2013 Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The 2013 one. Which one's that one?
Alexandra I can't ever pronounce her name, but they started it where the first movie ends off, and Bill Moseley plays one of the OG characters who had like passed away, the actor, so he couldn't come back. She works at a meat shop. She's like a butcher at a grocery store. She ends up inheriting the property.
2013.
Yeah.
is that the one that was
I think
shot
it's
in
2013.
3D?
Yes, sorry.
It's
Texas
just
Chainsaw 3D.
it's just called Texas Chainsaw. That's all it's called,
Yes.
Texas Chainsaw
Okay.
3D. And it's actually
I like
funny.
it.
I really appreciate. I actually have to go back and revisit it because I don't. I remember going to see it in theaters and I didn't like it,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna because they
There is
used
some cringy components. Very
they
cringy components.
they used the same guy that played Leatherface in the original 74 plays
Yep.
Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw 3D.
And that's what
Toby,
I appreciate about
yeah,
it.
Toby something, I think his name
Hooper or
is.
Hopper. It's either or, I
No,
think.
no, you're.
No?
No, no.
Who am I thinking of?
Well, we were just talking about Jaws, so that's why you said Hooper.
Oh,
Hooper.
okay, got it.
Yeah. Give me a sec here. I'm going to. Uh,
But yeah, no, I just find that one. I appreciate that they tried doing it from where it left off. They did butcher the timeline. Um,
yeah,
Obviously, it's
yeah.
a modern horror movie too, so like, there's a lot of sex. There's a lot of like unneeded shit between the cast, like the characters and stuff. But I don't know. I actually really enjoyed that one. I don't know why
I
until the
don't
end,
know.
at least.
I don't know why I said Toby. I was just thinking of because we were talking about Saw, and that's Tobin
Mhm.
Bell. That's why it's Gunnar Hansen. I don't know why I couldn't think of that right off the bat.
Oh, but yeah, he's obviously been Leatherface. Like,
More than once, yeah. They
yeah,
brought him
definitely.
back for Texas Chainsaw 3D, so I think that was
Mhm,
really cool. I'm gonna revisit that one actually and give it another chance.
mhm.
I just remember not liking. I just the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise is,
All over the place.
it's the
The one
first
with
one's.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, well, that's actually a fan favorite of a lot of people. I got to revisit that one too. I just Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The first one, the original, is iconic. It's one of the greatest slashers of all time. I wouldn't
Yeah,
call it
it
a
created
slasher, but I
something
kind of would.
different.
Yeah, 2003, the remake. That's one of the best remakes that have ever been made ever.
We're doing that in this run. It's going to be a couple more down, but that's
Yeah,
definitely in this block of videos is the
and
Texas.
yeah, like the choice, the characters, the cast. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The whole
The way
story.
that they portrayed back then.
Yeah, it was really
Mhm.
well done. The only thing I don't like, we'll talk about it more. The only thing I don't like
Yep.
is
Jessica
Jessica
Biel.
Biel. She did a lot of
Mhm.
stupid things that in
Yes.
that, stupid
To
choices.
compare that final girl to Laurie Strode
Yeah.
to Sally Henderson, the original one.
Yeah, that good job. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we need a Sydney Prescott for that.
Yeah.
She does make some pretty silly, but like, she's also a high school girl when she's making these stupid
Yeah.
choices, whereas she's a bad bitch that I wouldn't want to fuck with later on in the installments.
Yes.
But like, that's a final girl. You shouldn't be making those foolish
No, you
mistakes.
shouldn't. Yeah, Jessica
You
Biel
should
made
be
a lot
making
of
enough mistakes to be relatable to. Like, I'm clumsy. I'll be the first person to fall down those stairs. But like, if I have adrenaline, I'm getting up and I'm hauling ass.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that kind of mistake. But
Yeah,
there's
no, but
mistakes that you shouldn't be
yeah.
making. You're almost going out of your way to make.
I really do enjoy that remake though. Like I said, that's one of the best. Like they've remade so many horror classics, and
Mhm.
that is, I think that's the best one. I
Never
really do. Yeah,
Jaws.
I really do like. Yeah, they've never remade Jaws. That's true.
Nope.
I don't
They've
think that.
never remade
I don't think
Jaws.
they're gonna touch that. To be honest with you, they might,
I don't
but
think so. I
I
hope they do. We'll talk about that towards the end because I
yeah.
just want to see. I want to see. I love Jaws. I'll do anything Jaws.
You want to see
Minus
how it
3D and for
advances.
revenge.
Yeah, how it
Exactly.
advanced from 1975, and if they get a good
Hmm.
director, they get good acting, and they actually do well with it. Like I mean, they
Do you
had
think
to.
Steven Spielberg would allow anyone else to do it?
Uh,
I feel like this must be the baby. I
yeah,
feel like
well,
this must be the baby.
if they put him in the credits, right? Because it's his
Hmm.
movie. It's like you said,
Hmm.
John Carpenter is credited in every Halloween movie
Yep.
after the
Wes
first one.
Craven with Scream.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? So if they do that,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think it's to say if you're allowed to, you know what I mean? I don't think Steven Spielberg has the power to do that, where he says, "Well, you guys can't remake this movie as long as it's credited. If he's credited in the credits, I'm pretty sure no matter what you're allowed to. But if he doesn't get credited, that's when it's a lawsuit and there's, you
I
know, a whole
feel like
bunch
if
of
he were to catch
lawyers.
wind about what was going on, he would jump on it.
Oh,
I just don't
guaranteed.
think he would if he was alive when it happened, which obviously he still is, thank God. We're not done
Yeah.
with him yet. I don't think he would allow, unless it was like a good reputable like company that took it on, for example. But like I got trust issues in that department, so like I
Oh
just
yeah,
hope
of
if for whatever
course.
reason
Of
I
course.
was Steven Spielberg with Jurassic World, was he associated with that? Like I don't know.
I want to say, I think I'm trying to remember. So the newest one, Dominion, that one's got everyone in it. That's got Sam Neill,
Yes, it does. That was a good one.
Laura Dern. I really actually enjoyed that one because it was nice to
Me
bring
too.
the old cast back.
Me and my dad
Um,
actually saw it in theaters because
oh, did
Jurassic
you?
Park would be one of those movies
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
yeah. That no, the Jurassic Park is a very. I love
Space.
dinosaurs growing up. The Jurassic Park, the first and second one, all three of them I do like. The original Jurassic Parks, 1, 2, and 3. With
Mhm.
Chris Pratt, when they started doing Jurassic World, I never really watched them. You know,
He's
because
executive producer.
oh, there you go.
Executive producer, yeah.
For all of
I
them, or just
knew
Dominion?
he directed Jurassic Park and the Lost World. Spielberg also was the executive producer for 3, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and Dominion.
Okay,
So
yeah, there you go.
I
Yeah,
had a feeling like
yeah.
so to end off this one, we were so close, guys, but we did good. We didn't veer off until the end this time, so like give us a round of hands for that.
No,
Um
I wish I had my
so
soundboard. I could click the clap button, but
um so yeah, the shark retreated with the oxygen tank from the boat because he went after Brody after he killed Quint. The orca is visibly almost sunk at this point. So Brody climbs to the top of the summit, and you bet I Googled what the hell he was climbing to, so I got it right.
yep.
He climbs to the top of the summit with his gun. Channeling his inner Quint, he starts to fire shots at the shark. He kind of catches a glimpse and notices the shark still has his oxygen tank in his mouth.
Yep.
He kind of says to himself, smile, you son of a bitch, fires at him, and the tank explodes. You get this big cloud of bloody rain falling everywhere because the shark's just, he blew up. And then see the rest of the shark kind of disintegrate into the water.
I want to touch base on that ending. That is almost the same ending as Deep Blue Sea.
Exactly.
I don't know if they use it in other movies, but it's yeah, it's a miraculous ending, especially that smile, you son of a bitch. You know what I mean? The way
the ending of Jaws 2 is an electrical cord.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Deep Blue Sea feature?
It's like he's got a. I'm trying to remember. He's got. I think he's got
gate, right?
Yeah, I think he's got a tank. He's got a tank. I'm trying to remember. It is a gate.
And she cuts her hand open to lure it.
Yeah.
He takes her.
Yeah, it's.
The shark might have been a girl. She or he takes her.
No, it was a she. I'm trying to remember, but it is. He connects it. He's got 2 lines, and he connects it to a battery or some kind of charging.
It was something along that line.
Yeah,
well, LL Cool J is up there hanging out with him, right?
Yeah. Well, LL Cool J.
Or does he come after?
No, I'm trying to remember. I think LL Cool J was. No, yeah, LL Cool J was the one that put the cables on the charger because the main guy played the Punisher. I don't know his name.
I know it. Oh my god.
He
very good actor.
Yeah, he's really good. He was also, I'm pretty sure it's the same guy that's in the Mist. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also no, sorry, I'm thinking of Stephen. I'm thinking of Stephen King.
Stephen King.
Yeah, not Steven Spielberg, but
I don't want to say same shit, different pile, but like they're obviously both masters of what they do. So like they're kind of at the same tier, you know?
Well, so Stephen King, all the movies that are based on Stephen King's stories, Stephen King's not a, you know what I mean? It's his story and then someone...
It's a story.
Yeah, and then someone produces and directs the movie, but he was the one that wrote the story. Yeah, so...
And kind of to elaborate on that too, which is, I'm sure we'll discuss this in Deep Blue Sea as well. Frank Darabont is definitely one of the directors who does work very closely with Stephen King. I'm pretty sure he's the guy on the, I want to say Shawshank Redemption. Could be wrong about that. He's definitely the guy on The Mist because he actually, Frank Darabont, directed the first few seasons of The Walking Dead. And
Okay.
he took the majority of the cast members from The Mist are all characters on The Walking Dead.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Literally.
really,
There's at
eh?
least 5 or 6 of them. And the guy who played the Punisher and the main character of The Mist, he was actually supposed to be a very heavily featured character in the second season of The Walking Dead, but the producers are something happened with The Walking Dead. They ended up firing Frank Darabont, and that storyline ended up getting killed off with it.
Really, eh? Huh.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of cast sharing that goes on with that. So just to end this off, we're almost there, guys, and then we'll start talking about other things.
Thomas Jane. Thomas Jane is the guy's
aka the Punisher.
Yeah.
So yeah, the infamous "Smile, you son of a bitch." I don't know what quote is more prominent: "Smile, you son of a bitch," or "We're gonna need a bigger boat."
Yeah.
Me, it's "You're gonna need a bigger boat."
Yeah. I'm gonna agree with you on that. Sorry to cut you off. I'm gonna agree with you on
100%.
that. We're gonna need a bigger boat just because I find like if you're talking about one-liners in movies and you mentioned Jaws, guaranteed 95% of people are gonna use "We're gonna need a bigger boat."
You're gonna need a bigger boat,
and it's probably homaged in a lot of movies as well. I can't think of any at the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple movies they say "We're gonna need a bigger boat" as well.
The amount of times I reference it, like I buy too many groceries, can't fit them in my fridge. Oh, we're gonna need a bigger boat. Like like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Every night before we go to bed, because we have 2 dogs that are, one's 120 pounds, the other one's 130 pounds. I look at Jeff. We're gonna need a bigger boat because they sleep with us. Like
yeah. That's cool. Right, I'll let you finish up.
We're almost done. So it's raining blood. The shark's disintegrating. Brody starts to laugh hysterically. Like we're in a whole different mood now. Hooper resurfaces and meets Brody, and obviously Brody's really excited to see him. Like, what? Oh my God, you're alive.
Yeah.
He asks about Quint because obviously Hooper wouldn't know about Quint.
Yeah.
The men obviously are proud of their accomplishment. They swim together to shore as birds begin to fly in and chow down on our movie villain. That's how we end.
Masterpiece.
So you can't do better than that when it comes to, it's a classic.
Yeah.
From beginning to end.
Like I said in the last couple of our episodes, 70s, 80s.
1 second. I lost. Oh, there we go.
Y'all good?
Okay, we're good.
70s, 80s, and some of the 90s. 70s and 80s, best for movies, especially horrors.
Absolutely.
Especially horror movies. 70s and 80s. Some 90s, some 90s were good, some 90s weren't. But
hit or miss in the 2000s.
Yeah, that's what it started venturing off in the 90s a little bit, not much, but once you get to the 2000s, that's where. So 70s and 80s, it's like 5 out of 5. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You get 5 out of 5
Yep.
every 5 out of 5 movies. They're all good. Then as you get to the 90s, you're like, well, 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5. Yep. And then as you get to the 2000s, 2 out of 5
Diamond in a rough.
are good.
Diamond in a rough.
You know what I mean? And then you get one random spectacular movie, but then the next 4 suck, and then now, now
oh God, do they ever?
Like I watched a couple, Talk to Me. That was all right. It was pretty cool, but like, I don't know, man. It's just the way the movies are made now.
They don't make them like they used to, just like everything else in life.
They don't
Um,
at all.
and I'm
The
not here to
yeah.
say that the actors weren't popular actors or anything, but like I'm really into movies, and Richard Dreyfuss I definitely recognize. I'll be
Yeah,
talking
what
in a couple seconds about like
is
other things he's in.
his name
Um,
sounds familiar. Richard
he's definitely
Dreyfuss.
the narrator of Stand by Me. He's the guy
Oh,
talking.
okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, that's I know that off the top of my head. I used to
Also
watch the
Stephen
movie.
King. That's
Also
Stephen King.
Stephen King.
Yep.
Did Steven Spielberg direct that one?
Stand by Me?
Yes.
I don't think so.
No?
No, I don't
Why am
think
I
so.
having
It's a Stephen King story. I know that.
No, he's not.
No.
Not at all. Not at all. But yeah, he's the narrator in that. I know I used to watch the movie Mr. Holland's Opus a lot when I was a little girl at my grandma's because she had the VHS.
Okay.
It's about like a music composer, and I believe he was deaf. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure Richard Dreyfuss played that gentleman, and he did a very good job of it from what I remember. More modernized, he played in like the remake of the Poseidon.
Okay. Richard.
And
I've
he's
heard that
definitely the
name. Sorry.
first person you meet on the Piranha remake, which I'm going to talk about in a few. Actually, let's talk about it now. I know I have it in my notes.
Why have I
May as well
heard
get
that
this one over.
name so many times? Richard Dreyfuss. He's in. He's in Jaws, right?
Yeah, he's Hooper.
He's Hooper. Okay. Yeah.
He's
Okay.
Hooper. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't find it here. There it is. In 2010, they made the Piranha remake, which I just mentioned. The first character we're introduced to is played by Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
The name of the character is apparently Matt Boyd. Keep in mind that he was Matt Hooper in Jaws.
Okay.
He's wearing the same thing as Hooper did in Jaws. The jean jacket, like very 70-esque.
Yeah.
He's drinking a bottle of beer where if you look very closely, it's called Amity beer.
The same.
And he's in a very small, teeny, tiny little boat. You're going to need a bigger boat. He ends up being the first kill on the Piranha remake.
I was actually going to say, now that we're talking about Piranha, there's a lot of...
yes.
There's a lot of Easter eggs to Jaws in the Piranha, in all of
Piranha,
them.
Deep Blue Sea. There was another one at the top of my head that I almost just said. I can't remember, but yeah, no, the Jaws references all over the place. Again, I feel like sometimes I make them up in my head because I love Jaws so much, but like,
you're like,
to me,
it's
was a Jaws reference.
Yeah, and it's like you can think about if it is a Jaws reference, if it's appropriate and it makes sense, you're like, okay, that's a Jaws reference, even though it's not. Reference. But like you said, you're making it up in your head because it's still fitting and it still works.
Exactly.
Yeah. But we didn't talk about. We didn't finish. What were we? The Deep Blue Sea ending. I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
We didn't discuss it. It's the fence. Or no, it's not the fence. He gets through the fence because they have him caged inside the fence, and he gets through the fence because Thomas Jane is in the water, and LL Cool J tries to shoot him with the spear gun, and it gets through Thomas Jane's leg, and he's attached to the shark. So when he goes to go through the fence, Thomas Jane holds on to the fence, and the shark rips the, because Thomas Jane is attached to the shark. Well, he rips the spear out of his leg. And I'm trying to remember. I think what happens is Thomas Jane has something in his hand, I think, and he puts it in the shark tooth or something. I can't really remember.
Yeah, and didn't they have like the computer, like it was very like high techy, like there was some kind of little like detonator or something?
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
And then, it was...
I gotta say, while we're on Deep Blue Sea, when it comes to fear factor, Deep Blue Sea scared me more than Jaws did. It was just like the way the deaths are portrayed and shit, and obviously the sharks are like smarter sharks, right? So like, I more unrealistic.
Deep Blue Sea was one of my favorite growing
when Samuel
up.
Jackson gets killed, and it's like, okay.
He has a speech in every movie. Every movie he's in, he has a big speech, and the kill for him. That I think that was The only time, like, there was a couple cheap shots in that movie, like that one
Mhm.
scene where Samuel Jackson gets, brought down under the water and then the
And
baby
you can
shark
see
rips.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's, you can tell it's straight cheesy CGI, but for the most part,
absolutely.
the sharks are pretty good, and I'm pretty sure they used robotic sharks for that movie as well.
I think so.
But that's nostalgic for me. I love Jaws.
Mhm.
I love Jaws, but I love Deep Blue Sea. Lake Placid was also another one.
Yes.
That's another one where the first one is awesome, and then
Yes.
stupid sequels. They don't
Yes.
exist. They don't exist in my
Yeah.
world. You
I
know what
feel
I
you
mean?
there. I
Like,
feel you there.
it's
I think maybe the reason why I was more comfortable with Jaws and Deep Blue Sea scared me more was probably because my dad with Jaws. So like I felt that safe security, like, oh, if my dad loves it, like it's safe for me, like that kind of thing. And a
yeah.
lot of the times I watched Jaws, I was accompanied by my dad. So like that's poor Cassidy. I feel like that's when I really got into watching Jaws was like probably when we were probably in about like grade 6 or 7, and it was just Jaws on repeat. And obviously Cassidy and I were inseparable. And I remember her saying like,
Yeah.
"I'm not coming over. You're just gonna watch Jaws." Like it was like that kind of shit going on. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it. It's near and dear to me. At first when me and Jeff started dating, he was like, "Oh, like I'm happy I have a woman whose favorite movie like isn't like a cliche chick flick. It's
Yeah.
Jaws." He's
Yeah.
not saying the same thing anymore. Um,
Yeah.
so aside from the masterpiece, there is a lot of trivia. I mean, obviously this movie goes back so freaking long ago, right? Um,
Do you have that?
so
Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead. Oh,
no,
I was gonna bring
you can
up.
go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, give her. No,
I
give
was
her.
gonna bring up that restaurant. Is that in your trivia?
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
All right, cool.
You can say it if you want. Yeah, I know you don't really have too much trivia for this, so I mean, give her if you
What
want.
is it? There's a restaurant where
Mm-hmm.
exactly, and they have the Kittner burger
Um.
on it in the menu.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. It's somewhere in the states.
Okay. Yeah, and it's called the
Yes.
Kittner burger. Yeah, because the little
You
kid
are
got eaten.
completely
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And who owned the restaurant?
The girl that played Kittner's mom? No.
Backwards. So basically,
I was
the
close.
lady who played the actress who played Alex Kittner's mom, she ended up walking into this little pub, I guess it was. She was looking at the menu, and I guess she saw like the Alex Kittner burger, and she was like, "Oh my god, I played Alex Kittner's mom in Jaws." The owner of the restaurant was the actor who played Alex Kittner. So he
Okay.
actually
Yeah,
ended up
yeah, yeah,
being
yeah.
there. So he
That's
ended up
so
coming
cool.
out,
That's
and he's like,
cool.
"You played my mom." And like they had a little moment. Like, I don't know, that's pretty badass to
No,
me.
that would have
You
been
know what I
cool
mean?
to, go through to experience that. You
Yes.
walk in and then you're looking on the menu and you're like, "What the hell?" And then all of
And
a sudden, "Hey,
obviously he
guess
was
what?"
a
Yeah.
really young boy in the
Yeah, in the
movie.
movie,
So
yeah.
like
That's cool. Yeah, for
um
sure.
so the body count on this movie is 8, 5 people, 1 dog, and 2 sharks if you want to count the animals.
Yeah,
A
they
lot of
count.
people don't consider the dog as canon because you actually don't get to see it killed on screen. Can we not wish for this kind of things? We get the picture.
Yeah.
Like they don't need to be killed on screen.
Yeah.
Um so to add a little bit of character development, it wasn't really that hard because Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss could not stand each other at the time that they were filming. The two argued, which resulted in some good tension between the two of them. Dreyfus later refuted that the two hated each other, uh, and they did have one major agreement on set, but he also proclaimed how much he respects Quint because Quint was the elder and he was an upcoming actor. So, of course, that's going to add some like underlying tension, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I obviously don't know the actor. Obviously, he passed not too long after Jaws, but I feel like he was old school in the respects that he would do anything to get into character.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel like he would probably push Richard Dreyfuss like over the edge,
Yeah.
keep poking the bear, right?
Just to keep
Mm-hmm.
the mood properly for,
Exactly.
like,
And good
appropriate
on
for
him
the
if that's
movie.
the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah. No,
Absolutely.
that's
Over 67 million people in the US went to see this film when it was initially released in 1975, making it the first blockbuster. So, according to writer Carl Gottlieb, the line "You're gonna need a bigger boat" was not it was not scripted. It was ad-libbed by Roy Scheider. So like it
Huh.
was in a moment.
Yeah, it was
And it's one of
improv.
the
Yeah.
most well-known one-liners in movies.
Yeah. No, that's
Um,
cool. A lot of honestly,
right?
a lot of times
I love that kind
yeah,
of shit. I
yeah,
love when it's just natural and in the moment. Um,
a lot of times in movies they end up keeping it and then it's an iconic Goodfellas the funny scene where Pesci's like funny how am I funny, you know, like that was all Pesci,
exactly.
and that wasn't written in
Uh,
the movie, and then Scorsese kept it in there and now it's iconic, like
I think it's another Martin Scorsese movie where Leonardo DiCaprio like cuts his hand open or something
yeah,
on
that's Shawshank Redemption, I think.
and he's gushing
Yeah,
blood and like he doesn't and like I'm pretty sure the actors are kind of looking at him like
he's
and he
cut
just
but he
keeps
just kept
going.
acting. Yeah, he kept
He just
acting.
kept acting and there's like blood everywhere. So in the original script, Quint was killed off by drowning. The rope from the harpoon that he fires at the shark wraps around his foot. My dogs know I'm almost done. Wrapping around his foot, and he is pulled under by the shark, calling for Brody to give him the knife. This was also the way the character was killed off in the book. And
Okay.
according to Steven Spielberg about the scene, it is a similar way to how a character dies in Moby Dick. However, it was
Oh.
decided that Quint should be eaten as this would be the most tragic for his character based on what he experienced on the USS Indianapolis. So the script was changed for the movie.
Okay. No shit, eh?
Yeah, so that's fun. This is kind of like modern trivia. If you guys are into metal music, again, I definitely recommend listening to Ice Nine Kills. I saw them live in the summertime. Amazing.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Unfortunately, they didn't play their song "Rocking the Boat," which is based off the Jaws movie. This was probably the second song I found of them. I discovered them on Sirius XM. They were playing like, it was a song actually about the movie The Crow. So I'm like, okay, these guys are into movies. I'm into this. Went looking a little bit, stumbled on this "Rocking the Boat" song they have in Jaws, about Jaws. Insta fan, like totally fangirling. Immediately in love.
You have a
so
song
they
about
even say in the
Jaws?
song,
You have a song about Jaws? Well, I'm your
sign
biggest
me up.
fan. Yeah.
Say no more. So it looks like I'm gonna have to go see them again, and hopefully they actually do the song. But in the song they even have a line like "Smile, you son of a bitch." Like it's
Oh shit, that's cool. Yeah.
I recommend listening to them. If you have a favorite horror movie that's really popular, chances are they do have a song about them.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Well, you've sent me a lot of I haven't checked them out yet, but you've sent me your videos. There's one where I think you did Evil Dead because he was walking around with a chainsaw in his hand.
Favorite songs for them. It's called Ex Mortis. It's an amazing song.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Another really good song from them is Worst Vacation, which is Hostel. They're not the heaviest band out there, but they are a little bit heavy. So like if you think that you're going to be listening to Nickelback, like that's not the case. It's a little bit more heavier than that, but like it's not full blown like Death by a Cowboy or anything. Like,
yeah.
I'd probably say they're closer to Slipknot because there is some screaming aspects, but like there is a lot of singing too, even Avenged Sevenfold. So in the actual Jersey Beach shark attacks, which happened in 1916, which Brody and Hooper mention in the film, the sequence of attacks is similar to the film. A swimmer in the surf, a dog, a boy, a leg of a man in a tidal slough. So I don't know if that's purposely done to shout that out. As we mentioned, the shark in Finding Nemo was named Bruce, supposedly as a nickname to... both Peter Benchley and Steven Spielberg later regretted how Jaws ruined the reputation of sharks. Knowing what I know now, I could never write a book today. Sharks don't target human beings, and they certainly don't hold grudges. Again, just pretend the fourth movie isn't there, and that takes away that grudge thing. That was Peter Benchley.
Okay, yeah.
He became a shark conservatist after. That's the guy who wrote the book.
Wrote the book, okay.
Yeah, so shark hunting statistics rose greatly after the release of the film, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
I don't know. People are in control of their own lives.
No, you are. Yeah, like we were discussing it before.
Up,
yeah, like we were discussing it before at the beginning there. Like, you know what I mean? It's a movie. I mean,
Exactly.
movies like some people are like, well, that wouldn't happen in real life. Well, no shit. You know, if people made proper decisions in
Exactly.
a movie would be over in 5 minutes. It's a movie. It's made to entertain you. The whole point of movies is it's supposed to be somewhat
And to me,
unrealistic. Like,
it proves that the real villain in this movie is actually the mayor, not the shark, because he's out for money. The
yeah,
shark is just an
yeah.
animal in his
Good,
natural habitat. If that
good
beach would have
point.
been closed when Martin Brody asked for it to
Good
be
point.
closed, a lot
Yes.
less people would have been safe from it. So realistically, it would have been politics. It would have been a
Yeah.
very, it would have been a political thing.
Yeah.
Um,
No, good point.
I don't,
I agree
you know
with
what I
you on
mean?
that one. Yeah, for sure.
Look at it that way.
Yeah.
If you're really offended by the way they portrayed sharks, look deeper into it and realize the real villain's actually the
The
mayor.
mayor, yeah,
Um,
exactly. He's just, yeah, greedy for his money and he doesn't care if
he's
people get
greedy for
eaten
his
by a shark.
money.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. The shoot was extended from 55 days to 159, which obviously pissed off a few people, including the town people who were from Martha's Vineyard, who were having
Okay.
people there.
Okay.
They overstayed their welcome. It's time to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This film was the first of three that Steven Spielberg made that each for a time became the highest grossing film worldwide. Each film was made for Universal Studios. I feel like you could probably fill in the blanks for the rest.
Yeah.
Jaws,
E.T., Jurassic Park.
exactly in that order. The only thing that beat out Jaws between Jaws and E.T. was Star Wars in 1977.
Makes sense.
But yeah, so Jaws was supplanted by Star Wars in 1977, which was beat out by Spielberg's E.T. in 82. A decade later, E.T. was supplanted by
Jurassic
Park
Yeah.
in 1993, which was later supplanted by one of my top 5 favorite movies. You mentioned the director earlier. 1997's
Uh,
a little chick flick-esque
give me a sec
natural
here.
disaster, great score.
I mentioned one of the directors.
Mm-hmm. Up there with Steven Spielberg when it comes to masterpieces.
Oh, the Titanic. No.
The Titanic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It beat out the Titanic. For that being said, I feel like I've had the most opportunity in my life to watch Titanic and Jaws in theater. I watched Jaws at the IMAX like 2 years ago with my dad because why not?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Titanic came out. It was re-released a couple of years ago. I made Jeff take me, and he was super pumped to watch a 2.5 hour long movie that we've already watched 800 times. But it was like the 100th anniversary, I think.
That's cool. You know,
yes, exactly, and we're approaching. I want to say the 75th anniversary. Would it be the 75th? I want to say no. It hasn't been that long.
For what?
If Jaws came out in 1975, I suck at math. I don't know what the upcoming anniversary is going to be in 20. It's 50 years. It's the 50-year anniversary. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In 2025, it's going to be the 50th
yeah.
year anniversary of Jaws, and I'm expecting big things. So
I was gonna say because Halloween 78 was 40. I think it's 45 years now.
Well, I was thinking of like my dad.
Years.
He was born in the 1960. I'm like, my dad is not 75. He's gonna give me shit when he watches this.
But I was gonna say something now I can't remember. Oh, you said you just watched you went to see the Titanic in theaters. I brought rocks to the indie cinema was playing The Lost Boys, and it was packed. There was probably about 200 people there. There was no seats. Like, I'm glad me and her got a seat, but like, you know, she's like, how long is this movie? She's just sitting in her corner. This is gonna be a long movie. You know what I mean? You know,
honestly, I'm a sucker for popcorn, so I went and saw the Barbie movie. Please, let's not go there. I was just there for the popcorn, but I get the opportunity to go see Jaws or Titanic that I've watched a million times, even on a 13 little inch screen tube TV that we grew up with.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I'll watch it on the big screen.
And I'm glad you mentioned the Titanic because the Titanic was. And then I
love the Titanic.
I think after the Titanic, well, this is later on, but Avatar is probably the highest grossing movie of all time, which is also James Cameron.
Haven't seen it.
I watched the first one. It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. Like it's not something I'd watch a second time, but it's something to watch, you know, for the first time and just be like, you know, this is, you know what I mean?
They tried making us watch it in class. Adios, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just never had any desire for it.
That's fine. Yeah, yeah.
I
Like I said,
respect it.
yeah,
Again, I appreciate it. James Cameron's amazing. It's just, meh, I
yeah.
don't know. Wasn't
No,
my
it's
thing.
like I said, it's not something I'd watch again.
Hmm.
But it just to
Jeff
watch.
loves it. Of
Yeah.
course, Jeff loves it because I'm not about it. But I don't. It's just not my thing.
That's yeah, no, I
Uh,
like yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I wouldn't watch it again, but to watch it the first time, it was a cool idea. I thought, and then like the effects and everything, I was like, this is amazing. But I won't watch it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I won't watch it again.
Absolutely.
Right?
The rewatchability for Jurassic Park or Titanic to me is just more prominent
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah, for
comfortable.
sure.
So it's more of a fun fact, it's not really trivia. I'm actually one of the moderators on the Reddit page for Jaws.
Oh well, you would be, I guess. Yeah, you would
Yep.
be. Why is that
Now
not
the
surprising?
the last trivia I have is being a moderator, I see a lot of comments back and forth, and that's why I kind of know a lot of opinions about what people think of
Yeah,
Jaws,
yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
it not being considered a horror movie, with it. So one of the biggest arguments people have when they put up the fight about it not being a horror movie is they say it's Jurassic Park and Jaws are the same movie. It's the scores that set the tone, that set them apart. What do you think about that one?
That's a good one. You know what?
I can't
So
unsee that perspective,
you know
and
what?
they're onto
That's
something.
yeah. That's wow.
It's the
That's
adventure
yeah,
music. It's animals. You enter a habitat that you know there's these dangerous animals
yeah.
in. You can't sit here and play the poor me victim card.
No, that's
Obviously,
yeah,
the beachgoers of Amity could, because they didn't know that the mayor didn't tell them about the shark being around.
yeah,
But again, it would be the same thing as Jurassic Park. This park is safe. It's
yeah.
an attraction. You're going to be fine. You weren't.
I agree. Actually, I
I see
agree
it.
with that. Yeah,
I
that's
see it. But
because like
again, because Jaws has that tone, it does put it in the horror class for me.
no, it is
For me.
it's I would put it in a horror, but I put it in a light horror. Like it's not
Mhm.
like like
Mhm.
horror is
It's not
horror.
like The Exorcist. My
Yeah,
dad told me
yeah.
that growing up, The Exorcist for him and Pet Cemetery
Yeah,
were
which I
the
also
two
named. Yeah,
movies
I named
that screwed
top
him up.
five best. Top five
Hmm.
horror movies of all time:
Hmm.
Exorcist, Pet Cemetery, The Shining,
Hmm.
Halloween, and probably
Hmm.
Jaws. But if you know what I
Hmm.
mean, if some people don't put Jaws in the horror
I get
genre,
it.
you know what I mean, then we got to
I'm
replace it, right? But it is a light horror.
exactly.
Like Jurassic Park is not a horror. You know what I mean? It's got
Hmm.
horror elements. It's like some people try to
Hmm.
argue that Terminator isn't a horror. Like people argue
Hmm.
Terminator's not a horror, or
Hmm.
Terminator is a horror. You know what I mean? And like, think about
It's
it.
no different than you and I. I said, are we going to do the Predator? And to you, a Predator is more adventure than it is horror.
Yeah, exactly.
We
No,
had this
yeah,
discussion.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I could go and say the remake in 2010 is more horror aspect because they're on a different island. They're kind of getting tormented in a little more twisted ways, right?
yeah.
Whereas the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's
Oh,
not. It is
it's
portrayed.
straight. It's action. That's not a
It's
yeah.
action,
It's
you
action
know,
adventure. It's not a
because
horror.
he's an action actor, and that's all he ever was. I'm not going to sit here and say he's not versatile, but he was famous for being like
Yeah, action
um
star.
Sylvester Stallone with the Rocky, like, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
They have that.
Arnold has done two movies that I
Mhm.
recently watched in his old, like not even that long ago, in his later career. He did one. It's a drama. It's I think it's called Airplane, and
Okay.
he his wife and his daughter are in an airplane, and they're on their way home for the holidays to see him, and they die because the plane crashes. Well,
Oh my
Arnold
god. Okay.
Schwarzenegger goes to get a hold of the guy that was in charge of this, the travel
He
guy
would.
that was, you know what I mean?
Sounds pretty
So
legit.
yeah, it's a good movie. And then there's another one. I think it's called My Daughter, and his
Mhm.
daughter has a flesh-eating disease, and she turns into a zombie. So, but
Okay.
but in the '80s, the '90s, his whole
Hmm.
career is all action. It's all action, But like, yeah,
Absolutely.
Predator, the original Predator is not a horror movie. It's an action adventure.
But on that note, let's talk Shaun of the Dead and Zombieland. Horror based, but pure comedy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, if people want to get really picky and opinionated, can we sit here and say that Zombieland is but it is
Yeah.
because it has the zombie aspect, right?
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, it's, people need to stop being a little like that opinionated and stop like opening the book and reading it that much when it comes to
Yeah.
like judging a movie.
Oh, I've
Just
I've seen some like some people like I'm like, oh my god,
don't
this guy's
discredit
in
something
depth.
because you
Yeah.
don't think that it's a part of like, oh, that's not in that genre. I don't like
Yeah.
this movie.
There's some
Don't
people
have that
that get, yeah.
opinion,
There's some
you
people
know?
that are just, I'm like, okay, this guy's wow. Like, someone was arguing the fact that the one thing they didn't like about Sinister, uh,
Mhm,
the ending, Bagul picks up the
mhm,
girl,
mhm,
so the physical girl, and he walks into the screen and he's like, he's a ghost. How can he, you know what I mean? He was
mhm,
arguing that he's like, he's a ghost. How can he pick up a
mhm,
physical girl? Or,
mhm.
when they're watching the Phase 4 films and it's like, how did this little child drag all four people dead weight, hang them up on a tree? You know what I mean? And it's
Absolutely.
like, yeah, like, okay,
If
guys,
you're
come on.
thinking
Like,
that much
yeah,
into it,
like,
like,
really?
you know,
Like, okay,
don't get me wrong,
yeah.
you chances are you do have a point, like, but when it was being written, they didn't think that people were going to sit here and decipher it that much. Like
No.
nowadays, I think the directors and writers and producers, they're like, oh my god, people are going to just read into this. Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't want to take anything away from it, but like I've been watching Games of Thrones for my first time,
Yep.
and obviously that series is notorious for being a little bit shittier towards the end, but
Yep.
it's because they held such good oh my god, continue, I can't say that word.
Continuation?
Thank you. Like they held the
No
good
problem.
continuation for such a long time, and then they started dropping the ball here, and like, and
Yeah.
then all these little things dropped the ball on that big thing, and it's like, well, that's not what it, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I just literally paid attention to every small little detail for the first 5 seasons, and you guys were doing good, but now everything it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
People,
Yeah.
actors and writers should know that like their fan base, especially the way the world is now, they're gonna
Yeah.
nitpick, they're gonna decipher everything.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna
How
nitpick.
can
Yeah.
Ghostface kill Dewey as how could what's her name, the one that kills Dewey in Scream 5?
Oh,
Amber. How could
Amber.
Amber kill Dewey when she's portrayed as like 4 feet, whereas the killer who takes down Dewey is 5 feet?
Yeah.
If you were looking at how tall the killer was when Dewey was getting taken out, you're looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like you
No,
do have a
exact.
point. Don't get me wrong,
But no,
but
that's. I know what you're saying. Like, it's just nitpick. Like, yeah, it's like, oh, that hospital scene. There's no one in that hospital during that scene. You never see that. You know what I mean?
exactly,
And it's like, okay, well, it's, like, come on, guys, like, that I love that
100%,
hospital scene. Oh, well,
100%.
his phone rings and he goes to pick it up. Like, come
Mm-hmm.
on, man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like, how that's different than what you were saying about how tall he is, but how tall he is,
It's
like,
same shit, different pile.
that's okay, guys, come on. Like, you're focusing on how tall Ghostface is in that scene. What?
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like you said, like I said, like, okay, like, how
I
did that?
do know that like the fan base when it comes to Scream though, they like kind of seeing like who killed who. Like, oh, was it Stu that killed this person? Was it Billy that killed this person? Was it Amber? Was it Richie? So I do get, don't get me wrong, why people read into those series a little bit. But like when it comes to the other ones, I don't know. Don't think too much into it.
No, just watch it to enjoy it, and
Exactly.
like,
Because some things are Easter eggs and some things are
yeah,
like they genuinely dropped the ball, like the smallest little thing.
and
Um,
some things in movies, I get it. Sometimes you see something and you're like, why did they put that there? Like, I'll
mhm.
use Halloween H2O for an example. So they use three or four different masks in that movie. Now there's one
Yep.
scene. There's one scene. It's actually the corkscrew scene. Remember we
I
love that
how
goddamn
did I
corkscrew.
know that this was getting brought up? Honestly, when you brought up when you said it, I'm like, why do I feel like there's this corkscrew coming? Like,
That corkscrew.
s-
But there's a scene. It wasn't shot. They forgot to shoot it,
mhm.
so they end up using a CGI Michael Myers mask for Michael, and it looks absolutely terrible. And it's only a quick second where where what's his name? He glances down, grabs the corkscrew because he gets the corkscrew, and then he glances up, and the camera kind of just rolls to Michael quick, and then it goes back down. And you know what I mean? Those are things that a fan will notice. Like, what the, what kind of mask was that? You know what I mean? That's
Yep.
something you notice. Okay, maybe
it's no different. I knew it was a real shark when Hooper was getting attacked. Like, well, that's a little bit too realistic for it to be a mechanical shark. But again, it was like a thing where it's real fans will notice.
Yeah.
But like the casual fan will just roll with it.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's okay. That's okay too.
Yeah. But like you were, like I was saying, like, so noticing something like that's one thing, but noticing, like you said, noticing, okay, well, look at how tall Ghostface is. Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
like,
it's same shit, different problem, but that's just going way above and beyond nitpicking. Like, okay, now you're just looking for a reason to, you know what I mean?
I wouldn't let that ruin my experience watching a movie.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, like if you're literally gonna nitpick that much, you're never gonna enjoy a movie. You know, like, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. No, I have the same opinion. As we mentioned, when it comes to remakes, it's not that I want to see someone butcher my all-time favorite movie. I do want to see what people would do as a modernized shark movie. I mean, they've had all these opportunities. Shallows was actually a really good one with Blake Lively.
Yeah.
It kind of even had, and I hate to call Jaws boring because that's not what I'm insinuating, but like it had that boring tone to it where it's like I'm by myself. It's just me against the world, like kind of like the boys on the boat.
Yeah.
Like I definitely felt that vibe. Obviously, as we discussed, Deep Blue Sea is definitely a good one.
Have you ever tried
48 meters down?
I was going to say 47 meters down. There's two of them.
47.
There's 47 meters down. There's 47 meters down Cage Dive. Both of them are pretty good. I've watched both of them. They're pretty decent shark movies.
I know that Mandy Moore is in one of them, and she's a pretty good actress. So,
okay.
I remember Shark Night 3D, where it was like a bunch of hillbillies went and put like a bunch of
Shark Night 3D.
Sharks that could adapt to freshwater in a lake, because there are a few sharks that could adapt to freshwater.
Yeah.
It had like Sarah Paxton. It was again catered to teenagers. They go to their parents' cottage for a weekend, like that kind of shit.
That
was okay. I know a lot of people didn't like that one. I was okay with it. I'd rather watch that than Sharknado, which I've watched zero of them and have no desire on it. That's just a little too stupid for me.
I watched like a 5-minute clip of one or something, and
that's
apparently it's got a really crazy fan base, which is very odd.
It does.
Which is very odd.
I'm down for horror comedy movies, like we said, Zombie. You're Shaun of the Dead. I'm Zombieland. Like I'm down for it. I'm not down for Sharknado. I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I am judging it too hard because obviously my heart is with another shark movie.
Yeah.
But I've always given other shark movies a chance.
Yeah.
I've even watched one called Bait, and it was on like Netflix. Like the effects were really shitty. I put it on just to have like background noise. It wasn't that bad. I would say it's kind of like a made-for-TV movie where it is pretty cheesy, but again, like it kept me entertained. I don't know. All of those ones I just mentioned, even as good as they are, they weren't that good.
Yeah,
and I don't know what they did to achieve what they did and why no one can come close to it. But they did what they did.
It's just
the tone,
I think it's just
score.
the way it was done and what it accomplished. And like I said, it was the way it was done. Like the way it was done.
Absolutely. And it's pretty realistic to me because you stick a bunch of older gentlemen, one who's a sheriff, another one who's a marine biologist, and another one who's obviously a big game angler. There's going to be a little bit of a pissing match. It's not going to be all buddy, cheers your beer. Like, there's going to be tension. It's going to be a dick measuring contest for, the first little while. Who's the alpha? They didn't have a discussion about that, but it was obviously happening on screen from my point of view, at least.
Yep. No,
I think it was very well done. It was very well
like
done.
The little things Like the
Yep.
camera work, like when
The camera
you got
work.
most of the shark's point of view under
Yep.
the water like that with the
Brody's
score.
little moments
Yeah,
with his family, with the
yeah.
kid, and like
And then
I don't know,
yeah,
it's
that scene with the I was trying to talk about it earlier. I don't know how to explain it, but where the leg floats to the bottom, like
yep,
just little fucking the way things are just filmed like that. Those
put
little
together. It's put
shots,
together
yeah,
so well.
yeah, and that's like that's what, and like there's every character is not likable, but every character, there's no hated character, and there's
Exactly.
chemistry building, character building, which is huge in 70s, 80s, and some 90s. It's
Absolutely.
you can
So
you
as
can put
far as the second movie goes, the reason why I'm okay with it being, and I say it's a solid sequel, it does feature the characters from the first one. The
okay.
mayor's there. So Chief Brody's there.
Is it all the
Hooper
same
isn't.
actors too?
You don't get Matt Hooper, so Richard Dreyfuss. Obviously, Quint died off, and he
Yeah.
passed away, unfortunately. I want to say it was released in either 77 or 78. I think it was 78. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
only a few years after. That's crazy.
Literally
Okay.
only a few, and I'm pretty sure its competitor in theaters was Grease. So obviously Grease is another one. I'm not expecting you to be a Grease lover.
No.
I am.
My mom
I
loves it
sit
too.
here
I don't know.
and talk about Jaws with my dad. Well, it was Grease with my mom. So
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. That is a classic. Grease is a classic, and it's probably in the top 30 greatest movies of all time.
And again, unfortunately, it's being judged with being so misogynistic nowadays.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, guys, it was a different time. I'm not going to sit here and justify it or act like the way that people were represented back then was okay, but it was a totally different time, and that's not what the movie was made for.
No, exactly, for sure. I totally agree with you.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, so Jaws 2, obviously the two Brody boys, they are played by different actors, I'm pretty sure, because I think they're a little bit older in it. You got Chief Brody, you got the wife, you got the mayor. The deputy is also featured in it. Yeah, no, there's a lot of repeat customers, repeat actors, and again, it's not as solid as Jaws, but it's not too far behind.
I'll tell you,
I find it rewatchable.
I'll tell you right now, there's probably only 5 movies in the world, maybe. I don't even think there's 5. Where the sequel surpassed the original, and
Shrek 2 better be one of them. Shrek 2 better be one of them.
No.
I know which one you're saying, Godfather.
Yeah, well, I wasn't thinking The Godfather, but good point. I did say there was about 5 of them, so maybe Godfather's there. Thanks for bringing. I was actually talking about Terminator 2.
Okay, yeah,
which
I
is
always
James
hear that
Cameron.
one.
Which is James Cameron.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, James Cameron did both T1 and T2, and Terminator 2 is one of, I can't remember. I want to check it out right now, but the earnings made it has a record for something. I'm gonna check it out right now. Terminator.
I'd say when it comes to my list of top sequels, the only one I could think of right now off the top of my head in the horror community would be Final Destination 2. Because those log trucks fucked me up. Trying to think of other sequels. Like Scream 2 is solid, but like to me Scream 1's better.
Yeah, well, and that's everyone else's opinion. Scream 1 is the best out of the whole franchise.
Horror community wise, I gotta say for me it would just be Final.
Yeah. A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. But you are right about Final Destination. The second one is better than I love the second one.
The first one is amazing too. Don't get me wrong. I just find like the second one's kind of more like they have the kid in it. Like there's just a lot going on. The car crash. Yeah. To me, the car crash resonated more than the plane crash.
The highway. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The highway scene. Yeah.
I'm not a plane girl. I've never been on a plane, and I have no desire to go anywhere on a plane.
You've never been on a plane? No,
ground. Fuck no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I'm just trying to read Trying to read about T2. I'm trying to remember.
I'm trying to think of some other solid like sequels. I'm not talking remakes. I'm thinking sequels, but I keep thinking of remakes.
Well, it says right here,
Um,
it says, when you make the highest grossing film of all time, you have to set your goals pretty high at the box office. Fortunately, Terminator 2 proved to be a huge hit. It made $520 million worldwide, finishing as the highest grossing film of 1991. It's also still the highest grossing movie of Arnold Schwarzenegger's career.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, there's more to it than that. So the budget was, so the budget was 194 to 102 million, and it made 519 to 520 million. So it made four times its budget. Five times, yeah. So that's
Okay, so I just Googled very quickly like best sequels of all time just to see like what would be on here.
yeah.
The Godfather Part 2. I find that very funny. Uh Star Wars,
Okay.
whatever. Terminator 2.
Yeah, I knew that was gonna be
And
on
this
there.
is as per IMDb. Um so The Dark Knight, which would obviously be Batman, Bride of Frankenstein, which is 1935, Aliens, which would be the second
Okay.
Alien from 86.
Yeah.
Toy Story 2. Yeah, agree. Toy Story 2 is a phenomenon. They put.
What about Homeward Bound? The second one?
You like the second one?
Yes,
I like the
I do.
first. I like the first. They're in San Francisco, I think, in the second one.
Yes,
I don't know how
really
I remember this.
You know, and I'm probably gonna get off this after and probably throw that
and
on.
watch
honestly.
Homeward Bound. I can't watch it unless I want to hear howling for 2 hours.
Yeah, my dogs actually bark at the screen all the time when they see an animal. Like my dogs will be sleeping. Like if they're sleeping with the wife in bed and I'm watching a movie, and then they hear a dog bark, and they'll literally get up from the bed, run over to the TV, and bark at the TV and wait. Like it's go
I'm
back to bed. Like you don't need to come out and start barking. You know what I mean? Like, but it's
so lower down on this list. I mentioned Toy Story 2, so Toy Story 3 is there. Rest in peace, the original, apparently. Evil Dead 2 would be the next horror movie that's recognized.
I don't even know why I didn't think of that. Evil Dead 2, of course. It's in my top 10.
Dawn of the Dead, the original, is a horror movie referenced on here.
Dawn of the Dead.
Shrek 2.
Oh, you did mention
yeah, Dawn of the Dead, the original.
How is that a sequel?
Isn't the first one Night of the Living Dead? It was Night of the Living Dead first, and then Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, but I don't know if those are both the same.
This one's 78.
I don't know if
Dawn
those are
of the
both.
Dead 78.
I don't know if those are both the same movies though. I think because there's Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead, then there's Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I don't think they're all the same movies. I think they're all a completely different story. Like
I wish I could sit here and act like I'm a zombies enthusiast, like I like to think I am sometimes, but like I've never done any of George Romero's, and I apologize to anyone if that offends it, but like it was just too black and white. I know I can't do black and white movies.
Neither can I.
I could do The Wizard of Oz, but that's because it's only like 25 minutes of black and white and then it's color.
I can't do black and white movies either. Like Psycho, the original Psycho is black and white. You know, like you said, George Romero, like
good for him for what he created.
I think I own his Night of the Living Dead or Return of the Living Dead. I don't know which one it is, and I tried watching it. And I turned it off after half an hour. I was like, I can't watch this. Like, you know 100%. What I mean?
He's very prominent in the zombie community.
The horror community.
I played Call of Duty Zombies a lot, and there was actually a map like way back in 2010. I want to say maybe even before that. It was probably around 2010. It's called Call of the Dead, and he's not a playable character in it, but like he walks around and he harasses the characters and tries to like zap them.
Okay.
But it's realistic and unique in the fact that the playable characters on this map are Sarah Michelle Gellar, which would be Buffy the Vampire, or I Know What You Did Last Summer, or Danny Trejo, which obviously he's a prominent actor.
He dies in every horror movie he's in.
Yeah. The other one is Michael Rooker, which he's on The Walking Dead as a character named Merle, so he's prominent in the zombie community. And the fourth one, I can't remember. But it's also another actor. So like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Okay,
Like
that's
obviously
cool.
we're getting a little too far of ourselves because now we're talking about zombies, but like it's
Whatever we did. Yeah, we did our Jaws. You know what I mean? This is
this
just
goes hand in hand with
yeah.
old schools, the ones that started the conversation, the one that they created all these masterpieces for other
Yeah,
people to not copy. Like I don't want to insinuate that that's what I'm saying, but as like
to carry
places to
on.
start.
Yeah, to
Exactly.
carry on the you know the
The
genre or the
torch.
yeah exactly
Absolutely.
yeah the torch exactly.
Um
That's the best way to
I'm
put it.
actually really curious about who the last playable character is. It's Michael Rooker, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
That's pretty cool.
It
That they
is
got
pretty
those. Yeah,
cool.
that's cool.
Oh my god, you're gonna hate me. Robert England is the other one. That's a playable
Oh, as
character.
if that's
So
cool.
they're all very prominent horror community players, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, Freddy, Buffy, Merle,
yeah,
and whoever you want to call Danny Trejo, whichever
yeah.
role. To me, Trejo will always be Uncle Machete from Spy Kids, but
Spy Kids. Yep, yep, yep.
you know, but
No,
I don't know.
definitely. I want to say for me too. Actually, probably Spy Kids because Spy Kids was
It's what
huge.
started it,
Growing up, you know, and then
and then
even him, fucking Spy Kids. There, he's in a lot of horror movies. He's in the Green Inferno. He's in
yes,
Rob
he is. I
Zombie's
was just about to
Halloween.
mention that.
Yeah,
Who
Kevin
plays
Zegers too.
Who plays Michael Myers in Rob Zombie?
Tyler
Halloween, do you
Maine.
know? But then again, it was the kid who killed Junie, and it was adult Michael who killed Uncle Machete. So really, that wouldn't vibe. I was gonna say Michael
No.
Myers killed both freaking Spy Kids actors in one movie. But
Well,
back to Spy Kids. Actually, the mom on Spy Kids, she's the one in like The Haunting on Netflix or whatever.
okay.
It's a
I was
possession series. You won't see me watching it, but I know that she's very highly credited for it.
I was gonna say Michael kills Danny Trejo in Rob Zombie's Halloween, and he also kills
Mm-hmm.
Spy Kids. He kills
Junie, Junie. I think it's Junie. It's
the
either Juno
the
or Junie, but I think it's
the
Junie
boy there.
Cortez is
Yeah,
his name. Yeah. I
yeah.
don't know how I
He's
know this.
and like I said earlier, I said Kevin Zegers too. He's for some
Yep.
reason a lot of
Yes.
Disney guys just go to horror.
Airbud.
Yeah,
I don't know how many
Wrong
times I've seen him
Turn,
die on screen.
Frozen, like
You're
Komodo.
absolutely right.
So
You're
weird, but you know what?
absolutely right.
He's yeah. He's actually he's in quite a few
I'm trying to think
movies.
if
Like
there's any other ones.
he's in quite a few movies. Zegers. He's in quite a few
He
horror
doesn't die in
movies.
Dawn of the Dead. Well, I mean, in theory, he does because, like, after the credits, they kind of all die. But
Oh, he's in
yeah,
Dawn of the Dead too, eh?
he's in Dawn of the Dead with the girl, the redhead in Dawn of the Dead is also with him in Wrong Turn.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And she's
the
also
girlfriend.
yeah. She's in Cry Wolf as well.
Yes, she is
That's
as
a good
the
movie.
main
That's a
character.
really I like that movie a lot. Actually, I
I was
have that on
actually a
DVD.
lot more impressed with it than I thought. Obviously, I went in there as like a John Bon Jovi stan.
Yeah.
Um,
Isn't it ironic that
and
John Bon Jovi gets
I
shot in the
knew you were
heart?
going to say this. I knew you were going to say that. And I'm pretty sure it has Jared Pacaletti in it also, if I'm not mistaken, who
Who's
would be
that?
like famous from Supernatural. And he would be in like and I know you hate
Oh,
this one,
the Friday the 13th
Friday the 13th remake.
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
You're right. He is in that. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I don't know.
actually,
They sorry.
did two popular remakes in 2009, one being My Bloody Valentine and the other one being Friday the 13th remake, both Supernatural main actors.
At the same time they were filming those movies.
Exactly. And he's in House of Wax too, Jared Pacaletti. He's
Yeah.
the one who dies at the piano and I hate that
and then he
scene
just
he's and you
he's
see his eyes like
he's picking off his face. He's trying to get the
he'd
wax
be
off.
Alicia Cuthbert's boyfriend in it, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because Chad Michael Murray is her brother in that.
Brother, and they have way too much sexual attention to be portraying siblings, but that's just my opinion.
I know. That's still a good movie. I just
really like that movie.
I just watched it not too long ago. That's a good movie. That was a really good one.
It is a good movie. And I know a lot of people love to hate that one too, because it is a remake from a very, very, I want to say a movie's from the 50s, but they did a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, when you set a house full of wax on fire, you're not really going to get too good of graphics no matter what. So, I mean, They
No,
did what they could
it's
do.
yeah.
I'll always
No, for
remember
sure.
her sticking her finger up the
The
manhole
vent or
and oh,
yeah, it's like a sewer vent or
the
something
cover
there.
or whatever. And
Yeah.
like, oh, I
And then he
couldn't watch it because
snips
I
her
knew.
finger off with the
Oh
pliers. Yeah.
God.
Or when
Or when they're at the church and like you think that they're people because like she was there before, and then like
yeah.
you see like the maggots or something in one of
Yeah,
their
yeah, yeah.
heads.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. No,
the
that's a
Achilles
cool movie.
tendon. Oh,
Yeah, when
I'm
he
pretty
hits him, when
sure.
he clips him with the scissors. Yeah.
No thanks, no thanks.
Yeah.
But no, a good movie. I enjoy it. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people. That movie was famous for, I guess, advertising that Paris Hilton gets killed in it, which brought a lot of people to watch it. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in like its own respective episode because it does deserve its own episode to be
Yeah.
spoken about.
Oh
I
yeah,
like The House of
we're gonna
Wax.
be talking about a lot of movies. This will be going on for probably the next 10 years, I think. If
And
we're
again, if there's something you really want to see, or even if you want to be featured in it with us, reach out to one of us and we can see what we can do.
yeah, exactly. We got time. We got time
Absolutely.
and room to fit people in.
We
I
do.
know
We
my
do.
sister wants to talk about
Yes.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, but I think we're going to do our own episode and then we're going to do a second episode featuring her. I think that's
But
how I
what we
want
can
to
do with Casey too, even is we could discuss the beginning and 03 together, and then we could always because that timeline it's those two movies.
Yeah, it's
So we
those
could
two.
always
Yeah.
bring her in after, and we could talk about both of them and kind of do a recap with her and get her perspective on it. We could always
Yeah.
do something like that because I think when it comes to finishing franchises, we should like have a recap at the end.
No, I agree. I agree.
I think we kind of touched base on it on the previous episode. Like when we do
Yeah.
Halloween, there's certain amounts of movies, 1, 2, not 3, but this one and this one that correspond. And then
Yeah.
2018 or whatever it came out, like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
no,
then
no,
Rob
for sure.
Zombie's its own. I think we should do Rob Zombie 1, Rob Zombie 2, and then touch base on the
them
exactly
together
as
as
a
a
whole.
whole. Yeah. Like
I think
recapping the
that's appropriate.
franchise. Yeah.
And maybe once we get the hang of that, we will veer off less because we'll kind of get used to knowing, like, shit, we could talk about that one when we, you know what I mean?
For sure. No, for
But-
sure. It's it's only going to get better with time, right? And
Exactly.
things are already getting.
Keep in mind,
things are already getting
we haven't
better.
gotten
Like
together for a month.
Yeah.
So we still
things
have
are
it in
already
us,
getting
obviously.
better, anyways. Like the sound quality's better, our cameras are
Mhm.
better. I'm still going to invest in a better camera, but I mean, our
Mhm.
cameras that we have right now are still pretty good, anyways. I think I don't even think we need to
Yes.
invest in cameras, to be honest with
And I
you.
forgot to mention, I'm obviously not in my podcast room. It is a disaster right now. So we brought it upstairs instead. If you saw me side-eyeing, it's because Jeff was hovering around for a little bit. And he likes to try to, throw me off course. So I was giving him the stink eye. I know you guys heard my dogs in the background, so my apologies, but we just finished Jaws.
I got remove background noises.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I heard Fenwick crying at one point.
No, yeah.
His
I
little
don't
mom's
think
boy.
I don't think it's gonna be in the podcast. I always put remove background noises because I could hear the wife coughing downstairs on my speaker, but it's not gonna be in here. So
Well, Jeff's gaming downstairs, so don't be surprised if you hear a few phrases coming out of his mouth.
Cursing and swearing. All right. Well, I think
we're 2 hours and 45 minutes into it. We didn't beat Halloween, but
well, wait, no, we're close. We're 2 hours. No, mine says 2 hours and 52 minutes.
Mine says 2:45. Interesting.
That is interesting.
I do want to reiterate too, like I cut a lot of shit out of my recap just to actually. I only spoke about like the more action parts of it. Like I said, I would never want to call Jaws boring, but there is a lot of
dialogue,
slow-paced things that I
slow-paced
kept
dialogue.
out.
Yeah.
My best recommendation for you is watch the movie. Take the 2 hours. I'm sure you guys have probably spent 2 hours doing worse things in your life. So just take the 2 hours and watch Jaws.
Yeah.
It was the first blockbuster ever.
It's a fantastic movie, one of the greatest of all time. Like I said, I named the top 5. So Jaws, if Jaws isn't considered a horror, well, it's still going to be in the top 5 of whatever genre it's considered as.
And if you don't consider Jaws a horror movie, well, guess what? This one was the movie we were doing for my birthday, and it's my favorite movie, so it was gonna be Jaws no matter what.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So even if it's not a
that's
horror, it was
that.
yeah, exactly. My birthday, we're gonna probably do Scarface. So I mean, it's
And it's just to change it up a little bit, and like
yeah,
it's our birthday, right? So it's just something different.
we're allowed to. Yeah, we're allowed to do it, right?
And guess what? If one day we wake up and we want to do Jurassic Park, well, we just sat here and said it's not a horror movie, but it's still our podcast. So we're going to do it.
And it still has horror elements, so technically.
Absolutely. Actually, Jurassic Park, the scene where the kids are hiding around the counter and like they're trying to like move around as the dinosaurs move around, that is mimicked in so many goddamn movies
Yeah, it
and
is.
TV
Oh,
shows,
yeah.
especially in the horror community.
Yes.
So that right there kind of proves it. Would that be I would call Jurassic Park a comedy because when I was a little girl, I was probably 5 years old and I really got a kick out of that guy getting eaten on the toilet.
Yeah.
So I mean,
No, yeah, it's Jurassic Park. It's got horror elements, but that's it. It's definitely a comedy and like an action adventure kind of. I think I'd put it action adventure and comedy kind of.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's everything.
Yeah.
It just sums it up right there.
Actually,
it's everything.
It is actually everything. It's got everything.
Drama.
Every kind
it has
of
a little
element.
bit of the romance aspect too.
Yeah.
Not so much there, but like you could kind of still see where it was brewing.
Yeah.
If you have nothing to watch after watching this podcast, either watch that or watch Jurassic Park. And it's actually funny because I showed my little Jaws ornament, but you know damn well I have a Jurassic Park one too.
Yeah,
and
that's
they're actually cool little ornaments. Like it gives you like the little backing, like almost like it was like a little VHS.
Those are cool. Yeah, those are cool.
I got them on Amazon.
Those are cool.
They're really cute.
Oh, yeah, that's actually awesome. The little VHS tape, that's actually awesome. Only we would like that. Only we would appreciate those. Like,
and I know that the podcast people probably haven't heard me shut up, but of course I have a Stranger Things one too.
That's pretty cool.
And obviously Stranger Things is modern, so like it was never on VHS, but because it's set in the 80s, they made it into like a little classic VHS.
In my in my room here, I have I got Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 remake on VHS, saran wrap, not even open. You know, just
good for you.
You know what I mean? Stuff
that's
like
badass.
that. Right? Yeah, that's
absolutely. And I wish I would have kept all of the shit from my childhood.
Yeah, I hear you. All my VHSs, like I got
my
the
PlayStation, my Sega, my Atari, like I didn't appreciate things when I was younger, and I really should have. So
yeah, no,
if you kids are listening out there, take care of your stuff.
Take care of your stuff
when you turn our age.
Because when you're 20 years later there, and you're like, oh man, I wish I could go back to being a kid, man. Like so much. Like high school was amazing.
Absolutely.
I had my high school time was the best. Like I loved high school and being younger. Oh yeah. I'd go back if I could. I'd go back.
I'm pretty sure I would do it all the same all over again. Oh, yeah, not gonna lie.
Nothing I did I regret doing in high school, man. It was good times.
Yep. If anything, I think I maybe live it a little bit more. I don't want to say crazier, but I'd live it up a little bit more, knowing that like this is our time for innocence. Like it's never a time to make mistakes, but it's a time to learn when you're little. And
yeah, exactly.
We just wanted to grow up, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, that was awesome. It was 30. Good to.
I agree.
Good to be back after a month.
We were a little rusty, so we do apologize. But like Sean said, we're only going to get better with time.
Yeah,
so.
things happen, and sometimes we can't get our schedule done the way we want it to. I didn't expect to stay out of town for 32 days, but now I can take holidays for a month. So it worked out. Now we're going to bang out probably four more episodes in the month of December, and.
Yep.
It's this was awesome.
Absolutely.
This
was
great.
If you guys are listening to this, just to take a test on who's listening, send either Sean or myself a recommendation on which Christmas movie we should be doing.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll help us figure it out.
Yeah, because I got a couple listed, but it'd be nice to have a couple recommendations. Right, that'd be awesome.
So if you're listening, send us which ones you think we should do, and maybe we'll even give you a little shout out in our next whenever we do that Christmas movie.
Fuck yeah. Awesome. All right.
Why not?
All good, Britt? That was
Adios.
awesome. Have a good night, eh?
See
It
you
was
next
good
time,
catching up.
pal.
Yes, ma'am. I was going to say yes, sir, but I don't even know if I
That's
should call you
fine.
ma'am. That's kind of... All right. Have a good night.
I am a married woman, eh?
Okay. All right.
Brittany England.
Yeah.
Brittany England out.
Brittany England out. Sean out.
Bye.
Later, Britt.